Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Diamond Drive Series finale here at Spa Francorchamps in Belgium. Hello, everybody. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Nate, as always, and Jedi Jake the Bosmeister Boswell behind the cameras. A long season, Nate, and it all comes down to this and a special twist for the last race as well.
Special twist indeed, Jesse. Instead of our standard hour or hour and a half race, we have got two 30-minute races tonight. So any driver that doesn't have a good first race has a second bite of the cherry, as it were, in the second race to make up lost ground, get some points, or maybe even just, prove that they can be competitive here in the car they've picked.
Well, we love a nice sprint race. Of course, we had the 90-minute race in the middle of the season this time, going out with two small sprint races. And I got to tell you, of all the sprint races that I've commentated on over the years, they're always very interesting. Doesn't matter how many cars you have. And tonight is going to be the very same. Of course, a very big track, the biggest, some would argue. And well, I think you're going to see a difference in the two races. The only constant I would argue is all that old 56 BMW up front.
Yeah, I agree, Jesse. That is the only thing that we can almost guarantee will stay the same here tonight. But yeah, I spar two 30-minute sprints. Like you said, drivers are definitely going to be changing their approach because gone is the conservative strategy, the saving the tires and fuel in the car. It's kind of just, well, go out there, see how fast you can go, and see if you can, oof, makes it for everyone else. I wasn't quite expecting to see Sasha Def hit the wall there. I'm not quite sure. So starts turning in, and then just kind of doesn't. But yeah, flat out racing, no fuel saving, no tire saving. Drivers are just going to be going absolutely hammer and tongs here tonight for, well, any position they can get their hands on.
I think that's what you're going to see. I think you're going to see a lot of cars get side by side. You might see them try to get up Aruj Radion side by side as well, because in a 30-minute sprint, the old adage of be patient and wait has absolutely no meaning. 30 minutes, not a pit stop that I'm aware of that they have to make in the sprint race. So you really is, I've got to get it all and I've got to get it now. That is the mentality. I think you might see a little bit of that come out in the racing tonight. And that's why I think the two races are going to be vastly different from one another. Well, before we can do that, we do have to go through qualifying. Qualifying unchanged for the season finale, of course, and qualifying will set the grid for race 1 and 2 tonight. So qualifying may be a little bit more important than we usually make it out to be.
Green light, go, go, go.
Yeah, because obviously for the two races tonight, the grid stays the same. So if you have a poor qualifying here now, it's going to affect you in the second race. So we may even see a couple of repeats. We may see drivers maybe being a little bit optimistic into the first few corners, and those same drivers, obviously still with the same point to prove, might make the same mistake in race 2. But yeah, as you mentioned, Jesse, I didn't think about it until you mentioned it, that there will be quite a strong emphasis on qualifying here today, especially because obviously we've lost half of the race time per the two races, so less chance for you to make up those positions that you feel like you could have made in qualifying.
Also, we can't discount the fact that this is new to all of our Diamond Drive drivers because, they've raced 60 minutes the majority of the season and a 90-minute mid-season finale. And tonight, where it all comes down in points to a championship, it is a 30-minute race, two of them, in fact. So a third different kind of race, or a length of race with its own rules in and of itself. And that's going to be crazy as well. Charlotte Robertson was in our chat earlier, confident of being the highest finishing non-European car. Winky smiley face. I wonder what Lottie might be talking about with that one.
I just had to double check to make sure that what she was saying was right. And, well, yeah, I suppose she will be the highest non-European manufacturer here tonight based on the fact that she's the only person driving a non-European manufactured car. Obviously, BMW, Mercedes, all German. McLaren, I suppose Mercedes engine, you could argue it's British-German, but obviously all still Europe. Lexus, though, Japan. So, yeah, she's Jessie, I don't think we can argue that one. I think she's got us banged to rights there.
Yeah, I think that we've. I think Lottie's called the shot, and I think she has a very good point. Well, folks, tonight, in addition to everything else, this is the season finale. It's always bittersweet for us here in the booth, but beyond all of that, we have a chance to witness some very interesting and unprecedented history here in RCI, regardless of DDC. This driver, Honor Rose, in the 56 Queens Design BMW, is going for a record that I am confident will never be beaten if achieved. Rose is attempting to have dominated 2 complete seasons, 12 races in a row, or 12 weekends in a row, I should say. It's actually been more than 12 races. But when I say dominate, I don't mean just win the race. I'm talking about a clean sweep each and every weekend. The fastest lap, the win, and of course, the pole position every single week. Honor Rose is perfect through 11 weeks, just has 2 more races and 1 more quali session, this one in fact, to get through. And honestly, I'm willing to declare undisputed most dominant driver in RCI history, and a record that I genuinely don't think will ever be broken.
You really want to put all your money on red there, Jesse? Is that what you're going for? All in on red?
I don't think anyone is capable of pulling off the domination like Rose has done. You might see some drivers win several races in a row, or they might qualify really well for a very prolonged period stretch, but I just don't think you see this. Once or twice in your lifetime maybe is when you see something like this. And when we've interviewed Rose this season, I don't think she even realized what she was doing at the time. That's how special it is.
I think it just comes second nature to Rose. I mean, we always talk about how fast she is, how consistent she is. We always reference her esports, I don't want to say pedigree, but for lack of a better term, obviously, you know, very successful in esports. I almost feel like it just comes second nature. So when you say she doesn't realize she's doing it, it's just because this is what she does. Like, it's no different to any other sort of event or anything else that she does. So I don't think she thinks too much about it, and that's why obviously when you approached her, she was kind of just like, oh yeah, I have done that. But yeah, so Jesse, how are we gonna we counting just to win and fastest lap the 2 races here tonight?
Oh yeah.
Or,
yep.
Or
oh, yeah.
both of them, yeah? So
yep.
Both the races for the round, correct?
That is correct, yeah.
Oh, so that is a chance of failure there for you. So you might be losing a lot of money here tonight.
I think it's all safe. I think Honor's gonna pull it off here once again. And by the way, we Sarah Johnson, the GTWR 888 BMW driver, no stranger to the Diamond Drive Cup or RCI, but this livery on this car, we didn't really get a close-up of it in recent weeks, and our broadcaster Jedi Jake the Bosmeister Boswell was bringing this car up earlier. Of course, it is the Pineapple car, but now a GTWR driver is Sarah Johnson, and it's got a Ukrainian-style livery on it, but it also has, if you look very closely, a RGB, or maybe that's an LGBTQ plus pineapple, I'm unsure. Either way, very colorful indeed, and a very ornate livery on that car, and I dig the blue nostrils.
Yeah, I think we had a discussion, didn't we, about the BMW nostrils and what sort of schemes work well. And I've got to be honest, I think the yellow-blue actually works quite well, regardless of sort of which way you spin it. I do enjoy it. Pineapple, I don't like pineapples, so I mean it's a no from me. But
Hold
the color
on a
scheme,
minute.
yeah,
Hold
no,
on.
no, moving on. I'm
You're
not.
telling me you do not like the sweetest fruit God ever made?
Does it count if it's in a juice?
Yeah, absolutely it does.
Oh, okay, then yeah, because I dig
Yeah,
pineapple
I
juice.
was gonna say, I was like, there is no way my broadcast partner is gonna tell me in earnest that they do not like pineapple in any form. But yeah, absolutely, pineapple juice counts. Adora Rose, quickest so far, a 217.742. That will trigger Rose coming back to the pit lane and resetting for the second half of the qualifying session. Nicole Fox, second place, nearly 6 tenths off of that pace, but still about 4 tenths quicker than Sasha Death in third. Sarah Dove is 2 seconds off the overall pace and 1.5 seconds off of Fox's pace. April Carlsvard, the quickest in the second class in the 69 McLaren, and they are clear a couple of positions and 8 tenths over nearest competitor in Class Lee, the best name in sim racing, mind you, than in the 19 McLaren, and Rain in the ninth place position overall, but third in class. Coming to the line, is this an improvement? Yes, it is. A very nice pickup indeed. Puts them just about 4 tenths off of Carlsvard's pace.
Yeah, we're seeing some quick times already, Jesse. I can't really fathom the idea of anyone going any quicker than this, but the track is only fast. It still is yet to completely rubber in. I don't know if we'll see the track turn to optimum because it's not quite warm enough yet, but I mean, if it does switch to optimum at the sort of dying moments of the session, we will definitely see the times tumbling. But Rose is also back out on the track. She was just in the background of that last shot, so I mean, there's always time on the table when Rose is on the track.
Sure is. Steven in chat also pointed out something that I noticed, but we got away from it once we started talking about pineapples. But talking about Charlotte Robertson, or Lottie, if you will, in the 11 Lexus, they came across the line about 2-3 minutes ago, and that car looked considerably damaged. And what I thought was strange about it was Robertson did not come in to fix that damage. They continued on their lap, and we're not any stranger to having visual bug issues, but I feel like that damage was genuine. The question I have is, how bad was it? Well, it wasn't bad enough for Robertson to pit, as they ended up running a lap regardless at the time. But well spotted by Steven there. I saw that myself. Scraped all down the side. The hood was flapping, but not bad enough to trigger a restart. April Carlsvard trying to distance themselves from Rain now in P6. Death has improved on their lap and has returned to the pit lane, as has Dove. But what does Carlsvard have coming to the line? Will this be an improvement for GTWR? It will. A 220.075. Good enough for fifth overall.
I'm still watching the track, Jesse, and well, we're still fast. I'm hoping it's going to go optimal because I really want to see what times Rose can put down here. At this point, I'm here for Rose's qualifying time. I just want to see how rapid you can lap a BMW at this track, because I mean, I don't want to make any opinions, Jesse, but I've got a feeling based on the fact that the top four, or top five, excuse me, are all McLarens. I'd probably say the McLaren goes well here, but it's always nice to have an outlier, and who else to be it but Rose. So, I mean, 217. Jesse, do you think we may see a 216 here tonight?
With Rose, it's very hard to tell. I think it's possible. I don't know if we're going to quite get there. If we saw a 17.2, I wouldn't be too surprised. I don't know if we're going to get into the 16s. It rather depends on what this track does at just fast. I'm not too sure. By the way, folks at home, if you're keeping score, a 17 here, rapid.
Rapid is an understatement, I think. I mean, I get happy if I break into the 220s. I think maybe once I scraped a 219 and it was like just inside it. So, I mean, seeing everyone put these lap times in, I'm sort of like, okay, yeah, I really am slow as I think I am in my head.
I can definitely remember a time as Rose does go quicker, a 17.595, creeping ever closer to that 16 that Nate wants. But I remember running a 24 here and thinking that, man, I was flying around that racetrack and had a lot of work to do to get that time under 20.
I just don't think it's possible for mere mortals like you and I, Jesse. I think we are doomed to forever see a 2-minute 20 lap time here at Spa.
Yeah, I come here and I run a 20, or occasionally on a perfect racetrack, I might do a 19.9, something like that. And I think I'm going absolutely rapid. But I know Rose has very different gears compared to us, which again, to me, highlights how special what she's doing on the racetrack is. Well, McKenna Santos has had a rough couple of weeks. I think we can all agree. It's not for lack of want or trying, but unfortunately, the finishes just haven't been there for the Race Ventura 22, and looking to rectify that here on the final weekend of the season. Of course, McKenna has been driving, oh my goodness, sideways up Radion and parked on the racing line very quickly to get that car off the road and spun back in the right direction. Let's see what happens to Robertson here. A little bit of a grass on the inside. No traction hopping the curb. Lucky to miss the wall and smart to pull off the racing track. But other than tire damage, no other significant worry for the 11. Scary moment, though.
Oh, very scary moment. But if you're going to have one, that's the ideal one. You sort of just, well, miss the one on the left and eventually just come to a stop before the one on the right. I don't think you could really have planned that any better. But yeah, as you spotted, Jesse, it just looked like a little bit too much inside curb coming up the hill, unsettled the car, and yeah, led to the half spin. So yeah, the tyres will be flat on one side, so I imagine it'll be quite bumpy inside the Lexus, but as you mentioned, didn't hit the wall, so the car is good to go, and we'll see what Charlotte can pull from the 11 Lexus.
Currently pulling out of the way for a car on a lap. Of course, Robertson would have likely invalidated their lap, and also even if they wouldn't have been anywhere near an improvement for the 11 Lexus. So just moves out of the way, sees the next round racing McLaren of Nicole Fox come through, and Nicole, who's not only chasing Rose for pole position here, is also trying to outrun Death and Dove, as they have been doing and been trying and striving to do all season long. It all comes down to this. It's anybody's game, by the way, folks, between Fox and Dove tonight. Death has an outside shot of taking them both, but Fox and Dove are separated by what is basically one position or so. So it's all to play for, and I don't think that fight will be settled until the checkered flag of race number 2 tonight. That's how close it's been. And do not get me started on the AM, or the second class championship, as well. It's all over the place. We'll get more into that at the conclusion of qualifying, show you all the points for the final weekend of the season. Carlsvard continuing to try and go quicker, already inside the top 5, trying to put a little bit more space between them and Young. How entertaining has Carlsvard and Young been this season? Absolutely off the charts, if you ask me.
Yeah, absolutely, Jesse. I've just been hoping and praying for some changeable conditions in the race. I was just daydreaming then, and I caught the end of what you were saying. But wouldn't that be fantastic if, in the race, Jesse, so we got this lovely dry qualifying, track has gone optimum, so they're going to get quicker. But if it was all for naught, come race day, it was raining.
Well. Don't you... I refuse to put that monkey wrench into the fray. I really do. But I don't think rain is likely here, considering the weather that we have. But this is RCI, and while the R does not stand for rain, it sometimes can do. ACC, and I'm going to blame ACC for this, it has this weird knack where you can set it up and think you know what the weather's going to do, but because it truly is random. Now, a lot of sims have weather and they say, oh, well, the weather's random, but it really isn't. But in ACC, what we've determined on the back end, the weather is actually random. And when you set it and give it variability, it will calculate that possibility and give you truly random weather. And that's why the weather can seem wacky at times because it's just doing what we're telling it to do. And, there might be a little bit of variability in it today, but I think it is highly unlikely. Then again, folks, I've said that before and been very, very wrong.
I've heard a couple of jokes about what RCI stands for, and one that I've seen banded around a couple of times is rain constantly incoming, because we just love a wet race here at RCI.
Listen, we started off the World Tour this season as Fox does improve at 18.132. Nice pickup for Nicole Fox. We first round, I think it was, of the World Tour this season, Nate. It rained off and on for 8 hours straight, and I mean literally 1 hour of rain, 1 hour of dry, 1 hour of rain, 1 hour of dry. The drivers got out of the cockpit and out of the sim rig at the end of the day, and you would have sworn they had driven 24 hours at the Nürburgring. It was insane to me, like how much that played with their mentality of it was like clockwork. And of course, there's no way to set it up to rain specifically on the hour. That's just what it did. And wow, what an exhausting race that was. So can't even be mad at him. Carlsvard, and it was I don't know if that was an improvement or not. I think that was for Carlsvard by a tenth or so. No, it was slower by a tenth or so. I got that backwards. Sarah Dove, though, trying to play catch up to Fox in front, only needs a couple of tenths to get position away and a front row starting spot.
Yeah, Dove did go quicker on their last lap, so small improvements being made by everybody here tonight. I've got a feeling Carlsvard might be safe from Young with that second gap, but obviously maybe Young just hasn't quite got their iron yet. More time to come from that Mercedes, no doubt. Rain also there or thereabouts as well, only a few tenths away from Young in that second class battle for pole position. So that will be one to watch as well. But Jesse, you have to admit, Carlsvard over the last few races has been mighty strong in that McLaren.
Well, I think you called it, partner. The McLarens are going to be strong here. They always are. And I think Nora Rose is just an outlier, of course. But the McLarens, it's one of their good tracks. The McLarens have a bunch of good tracks. Keep that in mind for those of you getting into ACC racing. But this is certainly one of those that they're very strong at. There's just something about it. And there's a couple of cars that would be excellent rivals to that, but unfortunately, I don't think we have any of those in the field tonight. So running a little bit wild up at the front. But then again, the McLarens have been so strong all season regardless. It doesn't look any different on camera. And
Ooh.
Charlotte Robertson has gotten into the chicane really hot and spun it around. Wow. Yep. Imagine the brake bias you'd have to be running to get that much rotation. My goodness.
Yeah, I saw them going deep into the corner and I was like, maybe this is just a pro racing line I've never seen before. And then I saw the back end coming round a little bit too much for what the rotation of the corner was, and I was like, okay, there's a problem here. But yeah, I'm not sure if that was bias there, Jesse, or if it was just Robertson knowing they were deep in the corner and just flooring the throttle. But either way, it looked cool to us as Carlsvard crosses the line. I didn't catch if that was an improvement or not. Obviously, Rose coming up to the line now. I'm being told it was an improvement for Carlsvard. Rose coming up now across the line does go faster, does not quite make the mythical 2:16, but does go 2 tenths faster than their previous fastest lap.
Yeah, I just wonder if the track was slightly too cool to get to that particular point. 13 degrees, not terrible by any stretch. You can run some really quick laps, but a 17.330, good enough for Nora Rose. I think that will be all she wrote up front because Fox has already come through. 8 tenths off of the pole position, but in second, Dove is 3/100ths off of a front row starting spot. Sarah Johnson coming to the line in P6 and will remain in P6. And that is the end of qualifying. Rose Fox, the front row, Dove Death, the second row. And well, this is championship weekend after all, even though it's on a Wednesday. So let's take a look at the championship points and remind you all how we got here. Honor Rose in the 56, 156 points. That's max points, folks. For the second season in a row, Honor Rose enters the final round of the season with maximum points. Sarah Dove in second place, 112 points. Nicole Fox in third, 108. The way we do our point structure here, that's just basically a point between the two of them, or not a point, excuse me, a position between the two of them. It might be slightly more than that, but it averages out to about a point. In fourth place, Sasha Death with 81 points. If Dove and Fox have a horrible race number one and Sasha Death finishes first or second, we could start talking about Death being a part of that fight for second place as well. Rounding out the top five, Sarah Johnson, 67 points, has Hamish Eisner right behind them with 63. Cosmo Marsh has 11 points, and everyone else has retired from the championship and pro. The AM class, and I always felt that it was a bit unfortunate to call it the AM class, so I call it the second class, the first and the second. M. Young with 131 points. April Carlsvard, 128 points. That is just about less than, if not equal to, one position exactly between M. Young and April Carlsvard. You're going to see that flip-flop a couple of times, I would imagine. Third place, Rain, 112 points, sort of by themselves just a little bit, with Sarah O'Brien behind them with 83. 1 point behind O'Brien is Natalie Lee, rounding out the top five with 82 points. Charlotte Robertson in sixth place with 47. McKenna Santos on 43, trying to have a fight here in the final week with Robertson. And in eighth place, Sierra Thomas with 18 points. And as you guessed it, everyone else has retired from the championship. Couple of close battles, Nate, that we're going to be following today. Surely there's going to be some high drama. It's been back and forth in the pro and the second class all season long. I don't see why today would be any different, but of course the format very different today. That's dos for you Spanish speaking folks at home. 30-minute races here in the final week. What are you laughing at me for? I si hablo español.
Oh god, I apologize everyone on behalf of RCI TV, and more importantly, I apologize to everyone on behalf of Jesse Lee. But wow, 2 30-minute sprints, Jesse. I don't think we mentioned it in the build-up. We talked about the 2 sprint races, but it's half points for each race. So you could have potentially a fantastic first race, but if you throw it all away in the second race, you could still lose out on championship positions here. So it's not so much a one and done here today. You've got to stay on your game for both of the events. But that also on the flip side, if you do finish, say, third or fourth in the first race, you have the chance to then snatch a second or first in race 2 and keep your championship hopes alive. So I've got a feeling race 1 will be slightly chaotic. Race 2, we'll see everyone calm down a little bit because they would have worked out the best strategy for themselves going forward. I can see a couple drivers today, or for race 1, over-fueling the car just to make sure they get to the end. And then in race 2, they'll probably take a bit of that out to make sure the car is as fast as possible for the entire race there.
I will say that's a very good point. It is half points. And also, I think Carlsvard now, we showed you that Young was the championship leader in the AM class, but I do think with Carlsvard being on pole in that class, I think it's flip-flopped. I think Carlsvard is either tied with Young or has a 1-point lead. And like you said, half points for both races here. That actually means that the fight between Fox and Dove, Fox would actually, I think, have to beat Dove in both races by 1 position to win that championship in the pro class. And it really doesn't change anything in the second or AM class because Carlsvard and Young are basically on top of each other. So it does not matter. It will likely be winner take all in that class as well. A lot of storylines here coming into the final week. I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of you who have been with us all season long. This is the end of the fourth season of the Diamond Drive Cup. Every season has been unique for so many different reasons. So many storylines have come out of this season. Season 3 was all about the new rookies that have come in this season, our sophomores as well. But every season always seems to come down, Nate, to a couple of drivers fighting over those final few points. Today, we're lucky enough to have that in both classes.
Yeah, I think that's really going to mix it up because now, I mean, as you mentioned, we always have drivers fighting for, positions in the final race, but now it's a fight for an overall class championship in obviously our AM class, our second class, Group 2, Group B, whatever you want to call them. And then obviously, while the win may be a little bit out of reach overall for our first class, it's 3 people are in the shop for second place. So it's important up and down the grid that everybody sort of stay calm on the first lap and just get around and survive so that the battles can take place, because nobody wants the championship battle to be over before it's even had a chance to start.
And what about everyone's mentality tonight? It's a half distance sprint race is probably what they're all thinking in the driver's seat. Positions matter, and qualifying's over. And if you didn't get where you wanted to in qualifying, well, you can't change that now. It's all about the race and the start. I expect, and I'm curious what you think about this, I think we might be seeing the most aggressive start we've seen all season.
Oh, see, I would go the other way. I would say drivers, because it's the final race, because they know that it's on the line, we're going to see quite a conservative start. That would be my guess. But, well, Jesse, one of us will be right, so we'll just have to wait and see.
We covered both bases. One of us
Yeah.
is going to look smart, and thus we have fulfilled our broadcasting contract today. That's one of us was correct. Rose, chasing history, job 1 done for round 6. Needed to set the quickest lap in qualifying, has done so. Now needs to have the fastest lap and win this race, and then reset and do it all again, and will be chasing 2 perfect seasons in a row and to become RCI's undisputed most dominant driver. Can Honor do it? Well, we're going to have to find out. There's so many things in Honor's case that could go wrong, in only one scenario where it all goes right. Do you think Rose is even a little bit nervous right now?
No, not even slightly. Like,
I'd rather destroy that storyline.
Yeah, I could answer that with 100% certainty. I just think because it's just second nature, there's no thought that goes into it. Like, it's just happens. Like, Jesse, you must know the thing. You were in a really good lap. When you have a great lap, when qualifying, you nail it all together. Every corner just feels perfect. Every braking zone just feels awesome. And you're like, yeah, this is a great lap. And you come across the line, and it's improvement. And you're like, that was it. That was my one lap. I will never, ever nail those braking zones. I'll never nail a lap like that. We think about that, and it's a very conscious effort. And I'm normally exhausted after doing that. For Rose, it just sort of happens. I'm certain she could do this with her eyes closed.
Well, Rose has always maintained when talking to us in an interview that they can be beaten in any weekend. And of course, Rose knows that because it has happened in the past. You have to go way back in 2021, the last time that happened. But it is, of course, a possibility. Got to be up on your game no matter how cool and calm you are. But I suspect, Nate, you're right on the money. Cannot rattle Honor Rose, and I don't think you're going to see that today. Well, what are we going to see? Fox or Dove crowned champion in 2 races' time? Which one will it be? Carlsbad and Young, almost a dead tie for the AM class as well. Where will everyone else come out? The final race of the season, the final 2 races of the season, I should say, and we're about to get going. Race number 1 in round 6. Half points, 30 minutes, no pit stop. What are we going to see? 13 cars, 2 by 2, coming down the GT straight, the proper start finish line for GT cars. In my opinion, it seems like they're going so slow. The anticipation for the penultimate race of the season, waiting for the flagman, waiting for the lights, and there they go. The flags waving, and a very clean start for Anur, who gets out way in front. The 177 doing everything they can, trying to defend and attack at the same time, and it's a very clean getaway. But look at this, already on the back, trying to go around the outside. The 202 of Fox challenging Rose for the lead here. Looking down the inside is Dove, thinks better of it. A little bit of contact with Anur Rose. Dove up the inside, can't quite make that stick. Fox is gonna bottle everybody up now.
Yeah, so that was actually fantastic from Rose there. Already thinking ahead to the corner, took the inside to defend the corner. Immediately, as soon as she saw that Nicole Fox had the outright pace advantage, covered that off immediately, and then was able to just dictate the line into the corner and said to Fox, well, hang on a minute, I'm not going to let you turn in when you want to. I'll hold you out for just that little fraction of a second longer. And I wasn't sure if there was contact or if Fox turned out of the corner because of what Rose was doing. But either way, they were both pointing forward. It was well played by Rose to obviously control the corner, and that has allowed Rose now the space she needs to wander off into the distance.
Studi's in chat asking if Nate has the socks on. I don't know if he's wearing anything at all, but moving right along, Sarah Dove, who thought about making a move to the inside, didn't have the space, and very nearly could have had a move done on Fox, but didn't quite come off, has now fallen back just a little bit. Dove will be looking in the rearview mirror, cannot afford to be passed by Death now for that spot. If they want this to remain close going into the final race, this is exactly what Nicole Fox needs. Fox needs Death to get by Dove. Fox is a Sasha Death fan right now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's that still makes me chuckle every time we talk about it. But we see Eisner, going for a late move up the inside, and heavy contact there with Rain. Just sort of body slammed them out of the way there. Now we see Thomas on the back of Eisner looking to get through. I've got a feeling that, well, Rain won't be too pleased with that. We'll definitely be looking to make the pass back. But will Eisner feel like they've done wrong? Will they relieve the position? But, well, that's what I see. There is a yellow flag.
Contact back there.
Yeah, there's a yellow flag at turn 1. So this is the replay. So Eisner just seems, yeah, very, very late on the brakes. Completely misses the apex. As almost, if you did that in the straight, that'd be considered a hit and run.
Something also happened in the background, what would technically be turn number 1 in the F1 racing, but is the last turn in GT racing. But off the track here, Hamish having issues with the car. By the way, I thought Sierra Thomas was going to get both of them. They were basically taking each other off the track, and I thought Sierra Thomas was going to go right through. Didn't happen to get both of them, but still challenging Hamish for P8 at this stage. Look a little bit further up. Oh, no, I think we have the contact here into turn 1. Oh my goodness, that is, well, you'll be asking questions there, and unfortunately I don't have any answers. I can't imagine McKenna can take that corner at that speed. Don't know what was going on in front. I'm all 6s and 7s.
Just sort of seemed like, again, same as what we saw coming into the final corner there. I believe, Jesse, actually, just touch on it, I do believe that is still turn 1, as we see Thomas off the track by quite a way, actually. Not somewhere you normally expect to see a car off, so we'll have to see what happened. Was there contact involved, or was there just a little bit too much was it too much cover on the outside here? Yeah, so the car gets loose.
Wait, they keep it out of the wall. They keep it out of the wall. That's incredible stuff by Sierra Thomas.
Well controlled to, like you said, just keep it out of the wall. But yeah, I believe turn 1 is still turn 1 on this track because the start finish is on the F1 straight. But for some reason, the race actually starts on the GT straight. So Um, Turn one would have been where we just saw the contact between Santos and Robertson, and it looked like Santos just didn't quite spot their brakes in time. Probably would have been okay if Robertson wasn't there, but unfortunately she was, and well, we all saw what happened there.
Clumsy moment for sure for McKenna Santos. They've went to the back of the field after that, so didn't hang on to any of the places in question. Bit unfortunate for the 22. We documented the struggles for McKenna, who had a excellent rookie season and started this season off very nice as well, but unfortunately it's come apart here in the final couple of races and continues to do so. Natalie Lee at the top of Radion.
Let's have a look at what happened here. Was it a case of inside curb? Was it outside curb? Maybe the car just bottomed out. Let's have a look. So, not inside curb. Oh, but just, wow, it seemed like the rear end just unloaded there and just gave up. That was a heavy, heavy impact there.
Yeah, it sure was. That can happen if you get behind on your steering. The car will unload itself, and that is exactly what happened to the 650 McLaren.
Yeah, very unfortunate. It was nice to see the 650, well, doing the rounds and doing fairly well, actually. I was quite surprised at where it was. It has a nice straight line speed advantage here. I've got a feeling it's quicker than the 720, but it just lacks almost everywhere else, which is what really lets it down.
Well, our broadcaster has just confirmed in my ear that he's unloaded himself in that corner as well. That's rather unfortunate. You get yourself in a lot of trouble if you lose it over the top of Radion. Luckily, the cars were very spread apart and it was a single car accident, but that doesn't help Lee's race, as the best name in sim racing is still sitting in the pit lane. You know, I've had a lot of crashes in Eau Rouge and Radion, and I'm very familiar with that one. I tend to do that more than anything else. I know a lot of people, they loop it in Eau Rouge, or they lose it in Eau Rouge, and they end up wrecking up Radion into the wall. But what Natalie Lee did there is what I normally do, where I get behind on the steering, and I'm trying to force the car back over, and I have way too much steering input and way too much throttle. And because you're trying to take it flat out, because the optimal way is to take it flat out on new tires, and you just end up unloading. And well, unfortunately, there is a lot of runoff there, but at those speeds, it's often not enough, and that's what you've seen. And I think it hasn't led to a retirement yet, but that will be a massive loss, several laps at least, if Lee hopes to finish race number 1. Sarah Johnson in 6th place, the 888 GTWR BMW, the pineapple car, as it's so often called, just sort of running in space. Young about a second behind, not a threat at the moment. Carlsford is several seconds up the road. And if we look in pro, Fox and Dove are about a second apart. Replay of the start here. Take a look at what this looked like coming up Rouge the very first time. Oh, now that's interesting. Now I wonder if that rear end damage played into the accident now.
I was just thinking that as we saw it, and well, thank you, Jake, for finding that for us. We now have a new topic of discussion. But I believe this was so this is going back to lap 1, just what I talked about. You can see here, Rose already defensive on the inside, just sort of holds the corner out a little bit longer, because normally you ride that inside curb and you hug it around. So she just delayed her turn in to hold Fox out to dry, hung Fox out to dry, and it worked, as we saw. But I've got a feeling Rose, this is the first time she's not sort of romped away, and Fox is still there or thereabouts in touch if anything were to happen to Rose here.
Well, you know, I keep going back to the very first Diamond Drive race ever, and
Alton Park.
yeah, it looked like Honor and Mia Rose, were going to run away with it, and turns out neither was the case. And the thing is, Anor knows, competing at a high level as they do, that anything can happen anytime, every single lap. Knowing that there isn't a giant cushion to Fox behind makes you very aware of how you're taking, what lines you're taking, and in a way, it's detrimental because every time coming up to scary corners, doesn't matter if it's the corkscrew, doesn't matter if it's the bus stop, it doesn't matter if it's Radion. Anytime you come up to a big corner where it can go wrong in a hurry, you think about it, and that's the stuff that I worry about as a driver, especially for Anor, who is again chasing a ridiculous piece of history today. But as we mentioned in the pre-race earlier, I don't think Anor is capable of feeling pressure. We talk about Anor making their debut in the Friday Champ last season here on RCI, and they casually finished second in their very first race, and was upset that they were not competing for the win. And it's like, Anor, you finished second in your debut. You kidding me? That's excellent. But, racing drivers, am I right?
Yeah, they're not happy unless they're winning. And, I get that. But, yeah, as you said, Jesse, to be second in your debut, I mean, people dream of that, don't they? I mean, it just doesn't happen. I think winning on your debut would be the fairy tale, but second, you couldn't really ask for much more than that.
She referred to it as a reality check, and I'm like, a reality check of what? You finished second in pro and nobody else was close.
But I wasn't first, Jesse, so it wasn't good enough.
Oh dear, my goodness. Race car drivers are a very, very particular breed of human being. I can assure you of that. By the way, Rose does have the Speed Juice Fastest Lap of the Race award. Keep in mind, they have to do that again in race number 2 to have 2 complete perfect seasons. So, at least for now, that job is done. The quickest lap, of course, a 17, done by Rose a lap or so ago. And not really yarding Fox, though in that lap, it was about 9/10 in that one lap. But even still, Rose, if they look in the rearview camera, they can still see Fox, and that's all you really have to do if you're the car chasing.
Yeah, well, I mean, the mirror in that car is big enough. I think you could see the weld in the rearview mirror inside that BMW. But we got a yellow flag, Jesse, for the number 19. So that is Lee, who's come back out on track. And, well, the mechanics didn't really seem like they did a very good job on that one. If it's ended up, unfortunately, straight back in the wall, I'll have a see what happened. Oh, so back end just got loose again. And, yeah, bonks it into the tyre barrier. I got a feeling Lee may just put this one to bed and come back for race 2 with a slightly modified setup.
Or a slightly undamaged car. Maybe a little bit of column A, a little bit of column B. But yeah, some races, it's just not your race, folks. Let this be a lesson that sometimes it's just not your race. You got to know when to cut your losses and set up for the next one. And it's risk versus reward. Is it worth your frustration to continue? Are you frustrated? Of course, if Lee's not frustrated, then it doesn't matter. But it can get very very avalanchy in a hurry, one accident after another.
Yeah, the main part is that everyone here has fun, and like Jesse said, if you're not having fun, just park it, take a couple of deep breaths, see if you can get your head back in it, and if not, then obviously just call it quits for the evening. So, out on track, that last lap, Rose didn't really seem to be pulling too much of a gap. I mean, we say too much, 8 tenths across the lap is a significant margin, but compared to what we've seen in previous races, just doesn't quite seem as dominant as we may have expected. So either Rose isn't comfortable here, or more than likely, Fox has found an absolutely unicorn setup for this McLaren, is able to just stay in touch. I would imagine after race 1, drivers will go back, tweak the setup ever so slightly, maybe more, less wing, more, less fuel. I would imagine less fuel. I can't imagine anybody under-fueling for this. But we did see yellow flag in a slow-moving car for the 177 of Sarah Dove, and it does look like Sasha Def has gotten past. So hopefully Jedi Jake, the Bosmeister Boswell, can flick us back and find what happened there. Because it seems not everyone is immune to mistakes in this race, and well, it's definitely going to make the final standings interesting as we see a couple of penalties coming through.
Yes, indeed. The eagle-eyed among you will have noticed that we've had our first time penalty, but before we get to that, a warning for car 22 for avoidable contact in turn 2 on the first lap for hitting the 19. We saw that on replay. No further action between the 202 and the 56. That contact also was shown to you at the end of the straight. Warning for car 30 for an excessive dive bomb into T19. And a 5-second penalty for car 30 for an overtake with excessive contact on the 15, position not returned. A 15-second penalty for the 22 for taking out the 11, position given back, and a warning for car 22, additional warning for an excessive dive bomb. Second warning increased to a 5-second penalty. So I have been doing the maths, as you might expect. That's a 20-second penalty in total for car 22. Now, they can serve those 20 seconds in one stop. They don't have to do a 15-second stop or a 15-second penalty and a 5-second penalty. But, of course, in a sprint format, you're not coming to pit road anyway, so that's just 20 seconds added on to your time.
Yeah, well, luckily for them, it wasn't a drive-through, because a drive-through here is torturous, to say the least, because it runs all the way through the F1 pit, and then it comes all the way around, and you have to run all the way through the GT pit lane, and then the pit exit is at the bottom of El Rouge. So starts at bus stop, finishes at El Rouge, and to be doing that on pit speed, it's a long time. I'm pretty sure you can do half a lap just driving through the pit lane. Like, cars on track will do half of the lap while you are trundling through the pit lane.
Yeah, it really is. Of course, we talk about it, I feel like every time we come to Spa, if there's one track that you do not want a penalty on, that you have to serve, such as a drive-through, it's here. It's basically 2 pit lanes, and very long pit lanes at that. But fortunately, because nobody's due a pit stop here, they can just take the time penalty, which makes it easier on the drivers and for us headache-wise, because that means that in this case, McKenna would just be 20 seconds, finish 20 seconds after they actually cross the line. And we see that Robertson and Lee are there, and if Lee does not finish this race, which I wonder if they might elect just to sit in pit lane, then that would mean they would probably, now actually they wouldn't even drop the position to Robertson, because Robertson is 30 seconds behind Santos right now. So the final timings would show that Santos actually just finished 10 seconds in front of Roberts if the checkered flag flew right now. So comprehensively, that penalty doesn't do anything to the 22, but it was a ruling the stewards had to make regardless for the excessive dive bomb and the takeout.
Yeah, I don't think it's so much the fact that, oh, it's not going to do anything. It's more of obviously setting the precedent to the drivers that it's like, hey, look, if you do this, you're going to get penalized. You know, unfortunately, in Robertson's case, like you mentioned, 30 seconds back, so won't bring them close enough to obviously make use of that penalty. But again, it's not so much getting the penalty. Like I said, it's just about explaining to the drivers that your actions do have consequences.
Yeah, there's a lot of times speaking as a part I would call myself a part-time steward for endurance racing. It's one of those things. It's like you have the book and you know what you have to do and you understand that drivers didn't mean to do that, but it has to be an even playing field for everybody. The old saying, do the crime, do the time. And you don't want to. And I think that's a huge misconception too about stewarding is like, oh, stewards are looking for incidents. Stewards don't want to have an incident. They want to have a good race, and more often than not, incidents can alter the natural flow of the race. Speaking of altering the flow of the race, whatever happened to the 177 now trying to get by Death, and I cannot understate, or excuse me, overstate, wrong one. I cannot overstate enough how important this pass is. Dove came into here with the second place in the Pro Championship, had a okay lead, 4 points or so, but that wouldn't be the case if they finish in this configuration. Nicole Fox would take the championship lead with one more 30-minute race. But if Dove gets back in front of Death, I think that would mean they would end up just about even for the final race of the season. Doesn't get any closer than this. This pass is paramount for Dove. And the other thing, the other side of that coin though, Nate, Sasha Death doesn't care about Dove's championship at all.
No, Sasha Death's in it for themselves. Like, they may be in the same car, but they're definitely not part of the same team. So, yeah, like you said, Sasha Death doesn't care who has a championship to win. Sasha Death only cares about their own result, and come hell or high water, they're going to stay ahead of Dove at every possible opportunity. All this means is, though, that, well, Dove's got a lot of pressure on her for race 2.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, if Fox does come home second today, which it looks like that might be the case, barring some crazy phenomenon in the final 8 minutes, Fox would probably feel pretty confident in themselves. Dove, I think you're right, would have all the pressure in the world. Even more so if they don't get by Sasha Death. This is going to be a difficult pass to make on the SD Racing 247. It's one that I think Dove can do, but the question is how, when, and where is the very important question, because around here, after making up all that time, Dove hasn't really gained too much on Death.
No, well, they were side by side at one point, but I don't know if maybe Dove is having issues with the tyres after their incident. Perhaps they've overheated and she's trying to get them back in the operating window, or whether or not Dove just had a very good starting few laps and now Death has found their rhythm and is just sort of staying ahead. I mean, unsure if Dove is harboring any damage as well. I mean, there's plenty of possibilities here, but I don't think Dove is really cares about any of that. All she knows is she needs to be ahead of this pink McLaren, and she really wants to do it.
Could it be into turn one? I don't think so. Following the smart decision there, so often do you see drivers ducking out of line as if to try and catch the car in front off guard. I think the smarter of the two options was what Dove did there, and not dive down the inside and just go around the corner naturally, knowing that there's a little bit more speed off the track. That might be a track cut for Death in the 247. We probably won't see a drive-through today for track limits, but still using one of them there, almost certainly so. I'm pretty sure anyway. But that will keep Death in front as Dove continues to chase closer, this time into Sector 2. But certainly it looked like to me Dove closed up in Sector 3 a lap ago, closed up heavily on the back of Death. But look at this, so clean and tidy there, right on the back of Death now.
Yeah, I think this is a great example of two very similar cars and two very similar drivers, but with completely different setups. Obviously, Dove seems to be so strong in all of the corners, and Sasha just seems to be able to pull away on some of the straights there. So again, that indicates that they have gone for differing setups. It's nice that they've not all followed the same type of setup pattern to give us the interesting racing. And it's really, we won't know until the end, obviously, which one is going to pay off. But at the moment, you'd say by the fact that Sasha Def is ahead, you'd say it's paying off for them more than it is for Dove, who is stuck behind.
Yeah, it certainly is. Charlotte Robertson getting flashed by these two coming through. Robertson will take the very long way around. That's very noble of Charlotte, actually running into the grass there a little bit to make sure that both cars could use the runoff zone. And here it is, looking to the inside. Dove into the chicane, realizes they don't have the overlap, and now is offset through the second part of that chicane and did nothing but lose time there with that maneuver. 4 minutes, 2.5 or so laps, and time for maybe 1 or 2 more attempts at getting by Death right now. Something else I noticed too, Young is not too far behind April Carlsvard for the lead in the AM class, 4.9 seconds. Don't think Young is gaining any particular real estate there, but keeping Carlsvard honest at the very least.
Yeah, it's never, I feel like Spa isn't big enough to have a comfortable lead over anyone, no matter who you're racing or where you are, because of how long the lap is. Any damage you get on the vehicle, if you have like a minor scuff or a big incident, it just causes you to hemorrhage lap time. So any buffer you have will never ever feel like enough, especially given how long the pit lane is as well. It just worries you. So we can sit here and go, oh yeah, they're 5 seconds ahead of one another, but I would imagine that being sat in the car, they're still sort of thinking, oh, one mistake here and, you know, I'll lose this place. So I don't think anyone has relaxed just yet, Jesse.
No, absolutely not. Well, we've documented that Dove is behind Death and is now trying to make that pass again for what could be a championship saving move, but we've just now trying to find the actual point of incident for Dove, because Dove's car doesn't appear to be damaged in any way. So let's see if we can't find exactly what has happened to, oh my goodness. Is that coming down to what, No Name?
That's coming down to No Name, yeah. So that's, what is it, just gets a bit loose on the exit curve here. I've never seen a car go like that. So yeah, a little bit loose, corrects it, the car grips and snaps round. Dove does well to catch it and continue on their way. But yeah, that was a strange incident. I've never seen a car have a wobble there.
I wonder if that was McLarenitis right there getting over the curb, because Dove was completely over that raised and beveled curve. And I wonder if that played anything into that, as we join back to the live pictures, excellently detected by Detective Boswell, as per usual. We gave him a new nickname this season. The man has a million nicknames, but gave him a new one this season after we were very confused at some point, I think halfway through the season, of an incident, and Mr. Detective Boswell, he went and found exactly what was the culprit, and once again reprising that role today. And that is why these two are running the way they are, and just effortlessly Death drove around the outside. And keep in mind, that was a while ago, and Death still hanging on to this spot. Again, catching somebody's one thing, passing's quite another. But for Sarah Dove, I can't say how important
there we go.
this
It's
is. A little
happened.
bit of a move out of No Name, and Death wobbles, and that's going to allow Dove to dive down the inside. Will there be a clearance here? Yes, there is. Just about gets it done. Dove back up to P3 in what could be a championship saving move. Let's take another look at this coming into No Name. Nate, what happened to Death?
Well, we were on board with Dove, and I saw what looked like Def just get a little bit, yeah, there you see it, just on the curb, unsettled the car and got a little bit loose. Obviously, excuse me there. So excited I can't even get my words out. Def just lost traction on the rear, it seemed. Obviously unsettled the car, got a little bit loose. Well done to Dove as well for avoiding action there, because that could have been a pretty big incident. But yeah, just car got loose, obviously had to get off the power to settle the car back down, which obviously allowed Dove to just drive around the outside. Held it on, well, I suppose drive around the inside really, because held it down the inside into Puon and just forced Sasha Def to the outside, position gained, and there has been no looking back.
Dove did a very familiar maneuver to me. I think a lot of you can relate as well. It's, you see a car, they don't crash, but they get loose, they lose a ton of time in front of you, and they sort of go to the middle of the tracks, not in defense, but because they're trying to save their car and they know that if they're near any edge and they start to lose it, they're going to loop it. So naturally, you drive in the middle of the track. And Dove did a very familiar maneuver called "Where are you going to go? Where are you going to go?" Falls right in line with Death, and then ultimately figures that they'll go to the inside of Puon and shut the door on Death, which is exactly what happened. Excellent move, textbook move. Unfortunate for Death, though. Such a fantastic defense up until that point. Dove back in front for P3 in class and overall, and that will just about earn them the tie. We will likely, as we are on the last lap of the race after all, end up with a dead tie for second place in the pro category, and if it's not, it's 1 point between the two of them, which is near as makes no difference, one position anyway. See, I told you, I got your back, Chad. I told you it was going to be this close. Didn't doubt myself for a second.
Come on, Jesse, you got to do the math. You got to do it. You got to let us know where we're at.
I will try to do just that. Well, speaking of doing the math, you wouldn't have to for Honor Rose. The Queen's Design 56 has been out front all season long and has been doing it in dominating fashion, coming to the line for the penultimate time this season. Race 1 of 2 today. And Honor Rose is going to win again, one race away from a ridiculous milestone. It's been a perfect race 1 for Honor Rose. Queen's Design wins again.
Yeah, are we really surprised, Jesse? I don't think anyone's surprised.
Absolutely not.
I think you called it right at the start and said there'll be no change up there. But, I mean, congratulations to Nicole Fox for really staying. I mean, the gap did raise itself to 10 seconds, but it always felt like Fox was sort of just there in touching distance should anything happen to Rose. Congratulations to Dove and Sasha as well. We had a thrilling battle over the last few laps for that one. I wasn't really sure what way it was going to go. And yeah, Carlsbad takes class honors in Group B, followed by Young and Rain, it seems.
I love how we've called the AM class anything but AM this season on purpose, and what a race it's been for Nicole Fox. That couldn't have been more perfect, as Fox now has I don't know if it is the championship leader, they're tied, but again, it near as makes no difference between the two of them. Dove and Fox, it will be a winner take all final race coming up. Of course, Fox finishing second. Dove got back to third, Death in fourth. Carlsbad wins in the B class, as you're calling it, and that will all but give Carlsbad the championship lead, and does give Carlsbad the championship lead in the B/second/AM class. It's been called all of that this season. And now Young on the back foot has to retake that championship here in the final race of the season. Nate, it's do or die. A lot of mixed emotions for everybody. Probably a little bit relieved that the season's over. It's been a fraud undertaking. Also a little bit sad. You never want to see something this good end, but of course all championships do have to end. Luckily for us, like I said in the opener, we've got a couple of championship battles, and after one race, we're still in the championship battles, if not even tighter still.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, Jesse, it's do or die now for a lot of the races fighting for those last positions. So Now I've got a feeling, I will agree with you. I'll go back and agree with you now. Now I've got a feeling we're going to see elbows out, drivers really scrapping for the positions to make sure they can win or pass for the championship honors. Honestly, I'm excited for race 2. I really am, because like I said, there's probably going to be a couple of setup adjustments here. Drivers are really now going to dial the car in for the track. There's going to be potentially a little bit less fuel in the cars, so they'll handle and drive a bit better. There's going to be some changes, and it's going to make the racing even better to watch for me and you.
Smart chatter in our chat has pointed out, I keep saying championship leader. Of course, I mean that for the AM class, but yes, of course, Honor Rose won, and we didn't even announce it at the time, but Honor Rose won the championship many rounds ago, regardless of what happens today. So no matter what, Honor will be your Pro Series champion. And I think that was concrete even before coming into today. Heck, it might have been concrete before last week as well. Of course, I mean the race for second place in the Pro class. You know, it doesn't seem that long ago, though it was sometime summer last year, we asked the drivers about having drivers like Honor, Mia, and some others that are esports pro and esports caliber drivers. We asked, what do you think about racing against them? And they largely said, well, it's great because that's the only way you get better is when you measure yourself against somebody that is great. But I also offered him, I was like, what if we put Honor and the other esports drivers in their own category, super pro? And we sort of joked about that. I'm still not opposed to that in the future. Not for Diamond, not just for Diamond Drive. I'm talking about in general. I brought that up before. Super pro for esports drivers that currently compete in esports. One of those things that started out as a joke, but could be very interesting. But of course, that's not a reality in any way, shape, or form. Honor has just come out and dominated, and well deservedly so. Is oh man, I'm looking at, folks, the championship sheet from the last couple of years, and it is just beautiful symmetry to look at Rose's point scoring haul. It is perfect 39s across the board. Absolutely magnificent work. She might as well be an artist.
Is that a chef's kiss moment? Is it? Are you just there like, mwah?
Oh, it's so good.
Perfect.
There's few more beautiful things than seeing a perfect season. And I went back to season 4, and now I'm looking at season 5. And just one more race left to do. It has to get the pole and the fastest lap.
I mean, do we think she can do it, Jesse?
Yes.
Do we believe?
Yes.
I would be surprised. But maybe, who knows? Maybe Rose would just be like, you know what, guys? I'm bored of winning. Somebody else can have a race win here today. Somebody else could get the fastest lap.
That would annoy me. I'm going to be honest. I hope Honor's not going to do that. That would absolutely annoy me. If don't Nate, do not Brutus me in the final race of the season. Lottie in chat says that car was fine after contact with McKenna. It was when I slightly dinked the wall that the handling entirely fell off. Wow, that's excellent feedback to have. I would have sworn that it would have been the contact with McKenna. Turns out was not the case. It was extra wall contact that caused that. I think that's Sierra in chat who saying that they ran out of fuel. And that's commentator's curse, Nate, because you said you didn't think anybody would short fuel the car.
Oh, yeah, but also what's commentator's curse is you said that Sasha Def was doing so well to keep Dove behind, and then Sasha had a moment. So, I mean, I think we're just as bad as one another. I think we still got it, Jesse.
Yeah, well, listen, you don't survive in this business as long as we have without cursing a few drivers accidentally, of course. It does happen like that. And, just because Jake can't say anything, I once said, oh, Jake's going to win this race, and only for him to have been crushed into a wall. We don't talk about that either. We kind of bump over that, bump in the road. Lottie also pointing out I misspoke. Of course, not doesn't need to get pole, does Honor Rose, for this race. They need to get the fastest lap and the win, not pole. They've already got the pole for the weekend. We're not redoing qualifying. You will start race 2 where you qualified. Everything will go back to the way it was. And what I mean, of course, is Rose needs the fastest lap and the win one more time for a perfectly cromulent championship again. And also, upon that, I will bestow upon Honor the title of the most dominant driver in RCI history.
Well, it's not over yet, Jesse.
Let's just say I've already got the crown and the
You got the shirts
scepter
made
and
up.
I've already got the fan group and we're just waiting, by the way, for those of you wondering while we're waffling, we're waiting for the reset for race number 2, the countdown and all of that to take place. Everything's all good here. We're just burning time in the meantime, a little radio RCI. And for those of you that have come in the meantime, a big thank you to all of you that have been with us again. It's been a fantastic season full of ups and downs, and certainly it's one that will live on in my memory for quite some time. Nate, I'm actually quite curious what your favorite moment of this season has been.
Jesse, I was going to ask you that, but I thought we would save it until the end of race 2.
Do you want to save it then? We can.
Well, I mean, I suppose we've got a couple of the drivers to talk to, so we can do that after race. My favorite moment of season 4. Oh, goodness me. There's so many. I mean, I'd probably say one of my favorite moments would be watching Sophie Erwin drive the Bentley on the edge at Imola, when we were talking about how loose the setup was and how much it was like squirming around on the corners. It was absolutely fantastic to watch that.
Do you know what? You've ruined me because I was going to pick that as well. This is going to be a rarity in the booth here. Nate and I are going to agree with one another. And
that never happens.
Yeah, no, but I agree. The amount of squirming that Nate and I were doing in our seats, it was like we were in the car with them. And to hear the post-race interview of, yeah, I meant for it to be loose, but not that loose. It's just like, do you realize how on the edge that car was? If I would have been driving, I wouldn't have wanted to watch the replay. I would have scared myself.
Yeah, I think we would have all been scared by it, to be honest. It was just so... Yeah, it was just so loose. It was like, okay, this is a corner that's way too fast. There's no way Sophie's getting it turned in, getting it stopped. Then the rear end's going to come around, she's going to crash. And every time she just managed to turn it in and carry on. And it was just like, oh, wow, she's got that dialed in then.
Oh, my goodness. More comments from chat. I think this might be Dove. In the chat saying that pushing so hard had a huge struggle to keep up with. Oh, no, excuse me. That's Young. Excuse me. Yeah, that's Young in chat saying that they were pushing very hard. Huge struggle to keep up with April in race 1. Well, that being said, Young only did finish 5 seconds behind Carlsvar. That'll be something April's thinking about in the 69 McLaren, is that they didn't necessarily leave Young in the dust. And, well, Young will be more wealthy in the knowledge category for race number 2. And, of course, one other thing we haven't talked about is they can make adjustments. Of course, we're waiting for the forward of the session to the grid for race number 2, but what they can do is they can make modifications to the car. There's no parc fermé here. So if there was something in the car you didn't like, maybe you had a little bit too much wing, maybe a little too little, something like that, tire pressures were a little off, you can make those adjustments.
Yeah, and I'm honestly really looking forward to it because it's going to make the racing closer, more exciting. I mean, is it fair for us really, Jesse, to pick a favourite moment of the season when we still have one more sprint race to go?
I will say, and I've always thought this, I'm not going to name them by name, but there's a professional sports series that I'm quite fond of. All right. And they do polling for player of the year 3/4 of the way through the season. And that never made sense to me. It's like, well, how do you know that this is going to hold true till the end of the season? I think a lot of sports competitions do that. And rather unfortunately, we've done the same thing. Because you're right. You never know. I would say that would be my favorite moment of the season. But here's what we're going to do. If something eclipses that in the final race, we'll issue a retraction, which we're very used to doing. Here's an interesting livery: the Bird Brained Racing, the BBR racing team in the 5. That's Sierra Thomas. We haven't seen a close up of this livery, I don't think, all season long. But the BBR Racing is what they call themselves. That stands for Bird Brained Racing. I have a feeling I know what that means, but I'm too afraid to ask, so we're moving on.
I just want to point out, Jesse, the reason you've not seen it all season is because Thomas only joined us for the previous race at Zolder and this race here tonight. So obviously it was dark last race, so you're forgiven for not seeing it. This is the first time we've had a chance to see the livery in the light. What is that? What is that?
It's making my day, whatever it is.
Oh my god! Do you know what? I want that on my car. I want one of those on my car. I want Young to win now, purely for that and that alone.
Oh my goodness, I absolutely love it. You know, we OEM manufacturers will build this precision race car, and then a team will get it, and they'll put a very smart livery on it. And then there's always certain members or drivers that always want to add their personal touch, and it's always stuff like that. It doesn't matter if it's at the top F1 or grassroots racing. Drivers are drivers, and they want to add their personal touch to the cars. I love little stuff like that. Right there in the vent, hiding a little, well, whatever that actually was. Absolutely adorable, whatever it was. But I love race cars. You can take them as serious or as silly as you want, and a lot of personality coming out in all of these cars. I love that. I love that flag in the RCI. That is really nicely done, and they had to do that themselves. That's not something that, at least as far as I know, we don't provide here. So they would have had to have taken our logo, and they would have had to have done that themselves. And well done at that.
Honestly, Jesse, I hadn't noticed it till you pointed it out. It's subtle, isn't it?
It's very nice. I
quite
noticed
nice,
that
yeah.
before, but I didn't realize until now. I didn't think about it that is something that they would have had to have made themselves. And of course, the drivers they can use the RCI logos, and we've seen it modified very, very differently over the past couple of years. But that's an excellent execution to put the flag inside the logo like that. It actually brings up another point. You could probably put a nationality flag or anything you stand for in there. That'd be pretty cool to see an army of RCI logos with all the different pride related stuff or nationality ones as well. I might just do that for one of my cars. I think Lottie has actually just inspired me to paint some cars.
Yeah, I think this has started the trend now. Put RCI logo with your flag of choosing in there. But I'm wondering if we can ask Jake if we could have a flick over to Rain's car, the number 15 Mercedes. I want to see if they're hiding anything on their one as well. Obviously, teammates with Young, so perhaps there's a little bird somewhere on here.
Snooty asked if it was a Furby, and I don't think it was a Furby. I'm pretty confident it's not a Furby. So is there anything on this car? Look at this slow. This is production value, folks. This is what you get. I don't see anything in there. I'm afraid to look. I'm peeking around. Why am I peeking around? Jake, what are you doing to me?
We really want to know if there's anything hiding on the car. I'm sad to see there's not, but I wonder, Jesse, how many cars that we've seen, not just in Diamond Drive, but just across liveries in RCI, that have got something on them like that we've just completely missed.
For those of you wondering, we are still waiting the start of race number 2. There's like a cooldown, and the race admins are trying to figure out if they can just forward, or we're gonna have to wait out the cooldown and all that stuff. So you're not missing anything. Yes, we are expecting race number 2. In the meantime, Jake is taking us on a tour of the cars from the series. Of course, a lot of self-painted cars in this series, and it's nice to acknowledge them and appreciate them when they're not going 160 kph. Oh, Young has said that that's a mascot.
Ah, is that Team Green's mascot?
Team Green, the
Team
team
Green.
name that broke my brain week 1. I appreciate that, by the way, Team Green. But I've worked it out over the past 6 weeks.
So would that make the mascot green? Would it? Is his name Green?
That's a good question.
Questions that nobody has answers to, apparently.
All right. Well, we've gotten to the point where we're going to restart we're going to restart the server for the second race, and nothing will change. Everybody will stay where they qualified and start for race number 2. Don't usually get to see the cars sat in the pit lane like that. I always wondered as a small boy why uh, camera people in the pit lane, they were getting very close up shots of the race cars, and it only occurred to me as an adult the reason they're doing that is that's the only time you ever see the car close up like that, is when it's sitting in the pit lane. So if you're looking at parts of the car, or the livery, for instance, or something that is unique to, because all GT machinery is unique to its own manufacturer, that's the only time you really get to see it, because otherwise it's blasting around a track and it's very hard to capture that.
Yeah, I think my favorite motorsport camera photography whatever it's called, is the slow mo shots. Just how completely alien a car in slow motion can look, especially when you see them wobbling around, you see the tire flex, and like looking at some of the wings, especially in Formula One cars, you sort of sit there and you go, "There's no way that stays on. Like that has to be falling off. Like there's no way they can go an hour with that on the back of the car, wobbling away like that, and it stay in place." And it does every time.
You bring that up, and I love the the move to slow mo shots that we've seen in media, or in sports media, and it's happened throughout sports, but in racing it's very interesting because you see the tire bulge and flex, and you see parts of the car being stressed, and in certain instances several years ago here, I believe it was at the 24, they were showing some of the cars hitting the curbs, and how like the little aero elements on the car, the canards and stuff like that, they would kind of flex as well. Formula One's really good for that, about the wing flex in the cars. I think Formula One's the ones that probably popularized it, if I'm not mistaken, with the wing flex, and how everything reacts to itself, and it looks so flimsy in slow motion. You don't get any of that. It looks completely rigid in real speed, but in slow motion it's wobbling, and it's like, well, that can't be good for aero, but whatever reason, I suppose it is. What was that one wing on back in F1's yesteryear that would bend down on purpose to provide more downforce at speed, or I might be remembering that wrong. It might have bended up to take itself out of the wind. Either way.
Oh, do you mean Bendgate? But which one? Because there was one where the front wings would bend. That was like
Mm.
2010 era, and there was the one recently. I think it was like last year, year before, where the rear wing would bend, and I think it was to drop the drag off the car in a straight line. But yeah, I mean, Formula One, there's always some sort of controversy going on one way or another. But yeah, the flexi wings, the bendy wings, they were a big thing. I mean, this year it's like flexi floors, is it? FIA were like, don't have any flexible floors, and the teams were like, lol, okay. And yeah, you look at any of them in slow motion, and it's like, there's no way that's legal.
I love all the little intricacies of that's the great thing about GT racing. It takes the majority of that stuff out, but I also love that we have racing where it is about bending the rules. F1 is notorious for that sort of thing here in America. NASCAR is also has a very rich history of, well, it wasn't in the rule book, so you didn't say I couldn't do it, and then next year it is in the books, and I love stuff like that as well. Apparently, at one point, Nate, by the way, you and I, we sounded like robots. You can catch our new album dropping this fall.
Yeah, it's called Human After Half. I couldn't think of a way to spell a Daft Punk album there. Please don't sue me.
We're gonna work on that name and get with our legal team, I think. Once again, if you are just joining us, we are forwarding to race number 2. That's why you're getting these lovely panning shots of Spa-Francorchamps. I'm Jesse Lee, joined by Nate with Detective Saint Jedi Jake the Bosmeister Boswell. That is his full title at this point. He gets a new nick. He averages a new nickname a season. Does
I think it's
Boswell?
been a new nickname every race. I think he's inherited about 50 new nicknames across Diamond Drive.
That'd be hell to put that on your license, wouldn't it? You're a doctor detective, are you?
Dr. Jake Boswell.
Dr. Jake Boswell. Please, please. Doctor's my father's name.
Sir Boswell? No, that's going to inflate his ego. I can't do that.
We're spitting silly at this point. Just waiting for the race. Everything's fine, we promise you. There's nothing, no issues other than the delay. We'll be racing in just a few minutes. But until then, yeah, you're getting a little extra radio RCI. The crowd still wants those thigh highs, Nate. And there was no general consensus. We did have a clean lap 1 a few races ago.
No,
but
it happened.
There was no consensus if you were on for the bet for that round or not.
No, I mean the bet is on from when it gets said. So it happened. We had a clean lap 1. Thigh highs for Nate will be a thing. Soon, TM. It will happen, I promise. Maybe for RCI Spa 24, I'll do it.
If it makes you feel better, I am privy to the fact that Nate asked his significant other about this very topic a week or 2 ago.
Listen, I have a source, I have an inside source, someone other than my significant other, who I've requested opinions and links and supplies and sources and all of above. Actually, genuinely, honest to God, waiting for them to come back to me, but it will happen.
I might need some 8x10s, I think, after this is all said and done. You know, it took us 4 seasons to get to this point, and I also feel bad for our broadcaster because when we brought Jake in, technically Jake brought himself in to broadcast Diamond Drive so that we could broadcast Diamond Drive. Otherwise, it would have raced on without a broadcast. We warned him that Diamond Drive was unlike any other series that he had ever seen. And we were right, but just in the wrong way. Diamond Drive Season 3 was by far the cleanest seasonal championship that RCI had put on ever. Season 4 has been a little bit more up and down, but Season 3 was by far and away the cleanest series that I had ever commented on or seen the stewarding reports after a race for. Now, what makes that very interesting was Season 2 could have arguably been the opposite of that.
I mean, I think season one wasn't particularly fantastic either, was it, Jesse? I think it was just kind of a mess. But yeah, it does surprise me every time you bring up the fact that this championship, our little Wednesday championship, Jesse, has been the cleanest championship in RCI's current history. And honestly, a little part of me is proud for that. I feel like I've contributed with my bet. The people wanted Fire Highs, Nate in Fire Highs. There was a bet. They fulfilled it. They had to drive clean, and I will take 50% of the credit for us having a clean-ish championship with minimal contact.
Now, keep in mind, you may be wondering, Jesse, what are you talking about? If season 3 was the cleanest season in RCI history, how did the thigh high bet? By the way, for those of you uninitiated, there was a bet that Nate had with the drivers of the Diamond Drive that if any race there was a completely clean lap number 1, and we have an electronic device that detects contacts, obviously, that's how stewarding works. And if that came up clean for lap 1, Nate would put on some very nice thigh high socks. And season 1 didn't happen. Season 2 didn't happen. There is an argument that it happened in season 3, though there was an incident that was reported in one race in that season that was thought to be clean. I think it was at Misano of all places. The first lap was thought to have been clean, but it wasn't. There was a report. There was a debate on if that counted because there was no steward's investigation into it, because it was completely inconsequential, and some people couldn't even find it. It was a whole thing. But that did not legally count for the bet because the reporting tool reported contact. It wasn't clean. Nate actually went back and found the contact himself. There was a debate with the stewards whether it happened or it didn't happen. There is proof. It's not Bigfoot. The photo's not blurry. I saw it. I agree with Nate. But finally, this season, it did happen.
I'm a man of my word. It will happen. There will be pictures posted somewhere, probably Twitter, but it will happen. And you won't have to wait too long. I'm not going to be, oh yeah, I'll do it in 6 months' time. It will happen in the next month or two. I will follow through on my bet. We only had to wait like a year for it to happen, Jesse, but we got there in the end.
I'm proud of everybody who helped make that possible and make that happen. Of course, season 3, a Diamond Drive, such a weird championship. Season 3 was by far and away the cleanest championship RCI had put on in 2 years. And that's purely based on stewards' reports.
Purely based on me, Jesse. I'm taking full credit.
There have been a lot of clean seasons in RCI racing elsewhere, of course, but it just so happened that season 3 was the cleanest season of them all. And of course, the races were 60-minute races like you got this season. It worked out that way. And you look at that and you got Honor Rose, who is the most dominant driver in RCI history as well. There is a lot of history that has been made in the Diamond Drive Cup in just 4 seasons. Think about how many races RCI as an organization puts on, not a year, a week. How many times do you see us live? Like, subscribe, hit the bell for more GT racing content.
Ooh,
how many times do you see us live a week? Think about that. The cleanest season ever recorded was a Diamond Drive season, season 3. The most dominant driver is a Diamond Drive champion. Very interesting. Diamond Drive will forever hold a very special place in my heart simply because nowhere else are you going to see racing like this. Nowhere else can you say you saw racing like that. And of course, Honor Rose being the crown jewel on top of that with just the amazing driving. And now just 30 minutes away from making history. Needs the fastest lap and to win. And if she can do that, it will be 2 completely perfect seasons. No driver in RCI history has ever done that in any series. Rookie, silver, pro, doesn't matter. Nobody has ever done that in anything. And Ador
Yeah.
is on the precipice of doing exactly that.
It's just mind-blowing. I think if I was ever in a position to be that successful, I feel like I would just lose my mind. Like, to know that you have this opportunity to essentially go down in RCI history. Like, anytime another championship gets created and we have one standout driver, it's always going to be, oh, can this driver be as successful as Rose was in Diamond Drive? Can this driver take every win like Rose did in Diamond Drive? You know, you're now the benchmark. Your name will forever be used as the yardstick. So I would lose my mind if that was me, honestly.
Something Sarah brought up before they were called to the grid. Of course, we're coming to green for race number 2, the final race of the season. But Sarah brought up a very good point of the grid has gotten so much quicker since season 2, and couldn't have said it better myself, to be completely frank with you. It was season 1, 3 different classes, was all over the place. You had people like Honor Rose, who were just as quick then as they are now. But you also had drivers that were, I would argue, were over the 107% rule. But that wasn't the point of Diamond Drive. But we're to a point that's no longer an issue, and it hasn't been an issue for many seasons now. The pace, like Sierra says, has been very, very nice, and it's been getting better every season. We had in season 3, a huge uptick in competition in my mind as well. But Nate, it's been a fantastic season 4. It's been a pleasure working with you all season long, and it wouldn't be me if I didn't have one more trick left for you. Nate, go ahead and call the start for us for the finale today.
Oh, Jesse, I'm honored, and I shall not let you down. But as we see, we're on the Formula 1 start-finish straight, where the actual start-finish is for some reason, which is always weird. Jesse, do you know why the start-finish is there, but they start round the corner? I'm not quite
safety,
sure.
I'm told. I'm told it's safety. Yeah.
That would make sense, especially for something like Spa 24. But now they are going to line up side by side. Fox, a little bit out of position there, just catching up. Obviously, nobody wants to be speeding come the green flag, or you will receive a penalty for that, and that will ruin your race before it has even begun. So, crawling along painstakingly slow, just waiting for the flag, waiting for the green light. And here we go. We are green here at Spa. Again, a great start from Fox, and almost side by side with Rose coming up through El Rouge. Now, can Fox repeat what they did last time? Very, very similar start from the top 5 there. They're pretty much nose to tail again, but it looks like Rose has just done enough to edge ahead of Fox. But we've seen this before. This is almost a carbon copy of last race, but it seems Fox is wise to it. There's a little bit of conflict there. Oh, there we see, was that Dove just catching the, and it's absolute chaos. There's McLarens everywhere. And
more contact!
Oh, more up the road, and that is not going to be what Dove wanted. Again, we talked about it at the end of last race. Maybe drivers looking to be that little bit more aggressive to try and cement their position, and it seems like it has gone backwards, Jesse.
Well, Honor will be blissfully unaware of what just happened at the top of the hill, alone and by themselves. And Carlsvard, who qualified in P5, is all the way up into P2. The GTWR 69 McLaren is in second place, ahead of a melee. Huge contact behind them, nearly half the field involved. Sarah Johnson is all the way at the back of the field in the 888 now. Hamish is up to 6th place. That's the pink car right behind. Excuse me, that is not the pink car. That is the 247 of Death, who is right behind Carlsvard. And the timing scoring board has not updated at this point, but I assure you, the grid is completely discombobulated. Carlsvard, Death, Fox, Eisner, Lee, Dove, Santos, who just gained a spot on Rain, Dove all the way down into P9, Sierra Thomas 10th, Robertson in 11th, Young is in 12th place, and that is a huge shakeup. Like I said, nearly half the field involved in an accident. What does Carlsvaar do here? Second place, didn't expect to be there. The seas parted, but now looking up the inside, Sasha Death getting the shot into and around into the chicane. Not quite clear, could be clear now, and will come over eventually to cross back over and secure that spot. But here comes Fox, wants second place back, looking for third right now, going to the inside. No huge contest by Carlsvaar, knows it's not their fight, almost takes a look down the inside, falls back in line. What a crazy start this race has had.
That was just lap one, Jesse. So I've got a feeling Carlsvaar, sort of knowing that the speed of these two drivers wasn't really interesting in getting caught in a skirmish with them, knows that the inevitable will happen one way or another, no matter how hard she fights, and wants to preserve her own race and stay ahead of Lee and Santos. But her main rivals, being Young and Rain, are well down the grid, Jesse. The start of this race, I don't think could have been any more chaotic. We jinxed it. We talked about how clean Diamond Drive is, and the first lap is an absolute mess.
Oh no, we didn't talk about the tale of twos. We didn't talk about that at all, and it's bitten us again. Folks, what am I talking about? If you've ever seen races like this before, where you have two races, let's take a look at the start, see exactly what happened here.
Whoa.
Oh my goodness, a huge takeout. Did we even see that? I don't remember seeing that at all. Massive calamity coming up, Arouge and Radion. And that's why Sarah Johnson, the 888, that's part of the reason that they're all the way in the back. That's why Robertson's back there. I saw they were involved. The 37 was involved. And here's the second part of that. As we get to the end of the top of the hill in the straight, you see Rose covering down the inside. Oh my goodness, I didn't even see that happen in Arouge.
I saw we had a local yellow, but I thought it was just for a car that was just a little bit slow. I didn't realize the extent of the contact that happened back there. But the strange part about it was poor old Sarah Johnson got tagged and sent in a half spin, collected it, got pointing the right way, got tagged again, pointed the other way, got it sorted out, and then got tagged a third time and got completely wiped out.
Wow, what a race, and what a recovery from Fox in the 202 to get all the way back up to second place. Death now in third. Carlsvaar by themselves in fourth place, has a nice gap on Lee, who, remember, finished, I think, dead last in race number one. I don't think they even got points because they didn't finish 80% of the race. Now they're all the way up there. Oh, yeah. Was that Dove down the inside? Might have been. And then this is the bit that I saw, the extra contact there, and I thought the pink McLaren got the wall. They didn't get the wall. They were able to rejoin, and I believe that was Sasha Death.
Yeah, it looked like it was Sasha Death and Carlsvaar there. Just a friendly little hip check. But yeah, it did look like the Sasha Death caught the wall. Thankfully, did not catch the wall and has continued. And maybe that might be why Carlsvaar probably didn't fight Sasha Death as hard as they may have done, because they might have felt a little bit guilty. Well, unknown. But, oh my god, if you're Sarah Dove, this is an absolute nightmare.
Well, needed to have just about a perfect race to have a shot at beating Fox, and it hasn't gone that way. Luckily, 24 minutes to go to claw something back, and might as well do it now when everyone's relatively close. It's still only about 6 seconds up to Fox. Of course, you lose time every time you fight somebody, but it's not the end of the world. You can get 6 seconds back in 24 minutes if you're quick enough, and we'll just see how it all pans out. Dove was able to salvage race number one. It's going to be a bigger salvage job this time, I'm afraid.
Yeah, it's God, it's completely turned the race on its head. I'm so just trying to process it all, Jesse, at the moment. It's all just working out who's going to get where and whatnot. But I mean, also the other big loser from this is Young in the 37 Team Green Mercedes there. Obviously they needed a solid race here to secure their chances of a first place in Group B. And at the minute, Carlsvaar is just romping away with it.
By the way, I appreciate our stewards who immediately alerted us that will certainly require scrutiny that start of the race. I think we can all agree that that is the case. They're hard at work at that. And after a fairly benign race number one, race number two opens with a bang. McKenna gets the chicane wrong, but doesn't give M. Young a lane to make the pass for 10th place. Young trying to get a move on themselves, one of the big losers in the accident, and McKenna is not interested in just giving up this spot to the 37.
Yeah, it's nice to see the battles are still raging strong again. The same as last race with Sasha Def and Sarah Dove. McKenna Santos does not care that M. Young has a championship that she's trying to win and is just doing, well, racing her own race. So what are we going to see here from Young? And we don't know, again, how much damage Young has on that car from the lap one incident. We don't know how much damage a lot of these cars actually have from their lap one incident. So it'll be interesting to see, or find out after the race, I should say, sorry, how much damage some of these drivers were carrying and how much performance they believe they've lost as a result.
Yeah, it's a good point, Nate, because we don't know. We're not sure how much damage was done. I don't think it was a lot of damage, but on some of these cars, the McLaren in particular, it isn't a lot versus a little that makes a difference. It's where you have the damage that tends to make the difference. Anybody who's ever rear-ended another car with a McLaren, and then all of a sudden you're understeering everywhere, you know the feeling that I do. And it also, it's not off and on. It's not, oh, if you have made contact. It's only sometimes. It's very specific parts as well on the side of the car that can change the way that it corners and the way that it works through the air. Very aero sensitive, I would say, the McLaren, but in a very weird way on top of all of that as well. We'll have to see how it all sort of works out. Hamish here, who gave up the 5th place to Dove, as Dove, again, I said, was only 6 seconds behind Fox, but needed to get a move on and has done, back inside the top 5.
Yes, I mean, that's good news for Dove. Dove now on absolute damage limitations, but if Fox stays ahead, I don't think it's going to make too much of a difference. So we see McKenna a little bit wide here, which has opened the door for Young as well. Now, Young's going to have the outside, which means Santos does have the opportunity to sort of be a little bit rude and get elbows out and force Young to the outside. And, well, doesn't quite, but just manages to hug the inside and get the better traction out. But now will be weak, powerless, susceptible, whichever word you want to use, to the slipstream coming down the Camel here. So we'll have to see if... So, I'm not sure... No, wrong side of the track now. I was going to say, McKenna's immediately gone defensive, but we were looking at it from the other way. Young just too far back to really be able to stick a nose in there and just be like, hey, I'm here, so make sure you don't close this door on my face. But, again... Big frustrations from M. Young here, really trying to get a move on for the sake of their own championship. Oh, and a big slide, very well to catch that there. That would have been game over had M not caught that.
Team Green, who showed up in force this season, has certainly been a highlight. Is that a radio bar? Is that a Jimmy Broadbent reference on the back of that Team Green Mercedes? I'm sorry.
I didn't catch it.
I think I've just spotted a Jimmy Shedden reference. Yeah, that is what that is. Unless I'm very much mistaken. Radio Barcho, or whatever his name is, that fills in, does a podcast-like thing in the middle of the night of all Jimmy's 24-hour race streams. Chat, somebody correct me if I'm wrong and spitting silly, but either way, M. Young saves the car and just about, I think we could argue, saves their race. Some of you are also probably wondering, why is McKenna fighting Young so hard? Young's fighting for a championship. Why would McKenna be fighting? Well, it's the last race of the season. It's in class, and it's 4 points. And, of course, McKenna's going to defend the position anyway because it's a position in overall, and there is an overall championship as well as one in class. Of course, they're on the same lap, but this is the last race of the season. You got to fight for it, and in the end, it is Young's responsibility to make the pass and make the pass cleanly here. And as long as McKenna, oh, I thought McKenna, oh, look at this. Oh, a little bit of a move, goes to the middle of the track, and then Young goes down to the inside, and McKenna says, no, you don't, and takes them to the wall there. This is very defensive. What I was going to say was this is all copacetic as long as McKenna minds their manners, but that was a door shut in face right there.
Yeah, that was quite rude. It was, we're not going to say it's as bad as Schumacher or Barrichello at Hungary, but yeah, I think a couple more shades over and it would have been sort of like, okay, you need to wind it back a little bit there and give a bit of space. But what do we have here? So Dove has, well, rapidly reeled in Carlsveld there, if I do say so myself, and then just up the road is Sasha Def. So
now, will we see Team Orders here? Now, that's a question I have. By the way, thank you, chat, for confirming that I was not absolutely
yes, is the
crazy.
answer, Jesse.
First of all, thank you, chat, for confirming I'm not crazy and Radio Bacho is a thing that Jimmy Broadbent did, and also confirming that Bacho does his own streams. So I do appreciate that. Thank you very much. And like the entire booth just said, yes, an emphatic yes, that would be Team Orders from GTWR. And that at least makes sense to me, because Carlsbad's running for a championship and is leading their class and gains nothing from keeping Dove behind them. And Dove does indeed need to get a move on.
Yeah, I don't think that could have been more clear cut. And Jesse, let's open up a can of worms here. You know, we never ever like to be controversial here in the booth. Where do you stand on Team Orders? I don't like to see it. I'll be honest. I'm not a fan.
Well, I don't like Team Orders. Close.
Oh, my
all the
goodness
way
me.
down to the end. This is going to end in a wreck. I'm just going to let you know that if they keep this up, this is going to end in sadness. But I usually hate it. But in that case, where you got two cars in two different classes, both fighting for something tangible, I don't hate that at all. I think you got to have, as much as I hate Team Orders, you've got to race with common sense. I feel like that was the common sense sort of thing there. And I think also, had it been anybody else, I don't think April would have fought them too hard. I don't think they would have moved over like they did with Dove, but I also don't think they would have fought too hard. And finally, Young gets by.
Yeah, absolutely. That was, like you said, Jesse, that was ending to aim in a wreck.
Young defense, though, by McKenna.
Yeah, Young didn't seem too pleased about that move we jumped in on when we switched back to these cars. But yeah, to jump back to the Carlsbad Dove Team Orders debate, it's, I don't know, I suppose it boils down to, if you are the faster car, you'll get past. Oh no, McKenna, that's a bit of a dive. Oh, wow. McKenna paid the price for that one. She was coming in there way, way, way too hot. Let's just have a look at this here. So she's a good, like, 2.5 car lengths back, and it's just late. Oh, it is making the corner, though. So, yeah, unfortunately, well, I mean, M. Young had every right to that corner and had no reason to jump out of the way there. And unfortunately, yeah, it just seems like Santos just, well, got in a little bit too hot and was almost expecting Young to jump out of the way. They're very Max Verstappen.
Do you think M. Young's life just flashed before their eyes? Because that was, I don't understand with that velocity how that contact, that's good net code. If I had to give ACC kudos for anything, that seemed like good net code to me, because in a lot of sims that would have probably been a big ol' accident, but they definitely touched with significant gusto and a little bit of a wiggle, and they were both able to get away with that. I don't know if McKenna would have made that corner, or if they were making that corner. It hard for me to tell, but my goodness, a very deep lunge indeed.
Yeah, that was, well, I mean, I think there was definitely contact. I think it was more than netcode, because Young did take to the escape road there. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, maybe not live flash before eyes, but I think there was definitely, if we had a microphone inside that car, I think we would have heard some choice words there.
Oh dear. Joke of the day from the chat. No kudos, only kunos. Oh God. I wanted to say something like that. And, I fought it and now chat said it for me. So I don't got to. So golden star for you in chat. So I actually got to say it, but you said it for me. So it's all good. See what I did there? I made the chat do the work for me, Nate.
I feel like you just made that needlessly complicated, but
Nah. I absolved myself of any wrongdoing there of making puns on this broadcast. Do you know some of the feedback I get is I make a lot of puns, and I was like, yeah, I'm very punny like that. Oh yeah, just look at this. Look at this perched high above Radion, and just the melee of
just
all of that.
straight chaos, isn't it?
Look at
Oh,
this. My goodness. What actually triggers this particular accident here?
well, it looks like someone gets into the back
Beginning to
of
Sarah
someone else.
Johnson.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I'm
then it's
pretty.
just chaos. It's trying to avoid it all. I mean, who's out on the beam? That's Thomas there on the inside coming up. Absolutely nowhere to go. Clouts. So is it? It looks like it's M Young who is actually the catalyst for that. Is that Young or is that Rain? I can't see the car number, but no, that's Young. Yeah, that is Young. So Young is the catalyst for it all. Gets into the side or the rear quarter of Johnson, turns him around. Poor old Thomas is just minding their own business and has absolutely nowhere to go. Sends Johnson the other way across the track, and as Johnson is still having their own accident, just seems to tag Charlotte Robertson in all
Yep, it's a
this.
Team Green. It's a Team Green Mercedes, and it is Sarah Johnson. So I think that is Johnson and M Young fighting over real estate, and everybody else, quite frankly, is just a bystander, a passenger here. And I don't know if that's Hamish. No, it's not Hamish. That's Rain. Rain gets into the back of Young and spins them around. They don't have anywhere to go, did Rain. And look at this. All alone in the back of the pack, that's Sierra Thomas, I think,
Yeah.
who gets a big hit there. And Johnson is going to clip into the 11 of Charlotte Robertson. Lottie's going to get sent for a wild ride here. And that's going to spin the 888 back across the track as well. So that's why the 888's sitting in the opposite barrier, because their trajectory was changed. Just absolutely magnificent camera work. And the 5, Sierra drives away. We saw McKenna skate through up the road as well. Oh my goodness, just excellent camera work there by Detective Boswell. And that's what happened in Eau Rouge Radion. And folks, I do a lot of casting, and nobody does cameras quite like that. That was excellent stuff. And just one more time, we'll see that in real time. We showed you in slow-mo. Look at real time how quick this all went down.
Yeah, there's absolutely no time to react. Poor old Lottie will have absolutely no idea what has happened. Just all of a sudden will be sideways. And then this is the one that I don't think we've had a chance to really analyze and have a look at. But so what happens here? So Dove is late on the brakes, hops across the curb, sends it into the side of Nicole Fox. Carlsville just sneaks through there, and Sasha Def is forced to go wide. Then Def rejoins just as Carlsville is coming over to the racing line for the right-hander, and that's what sends Def off the track. And oh my god, there was just cars everywhere. I didn't really know where to look for that, Jesse.
Nah, and you really only can detect what happened when you slow it down like that. And it was so much. And think about that. A couple of those cars, Nate, they were involved in 2 accidents in 2 corners, and the majority of them, they were not at fault. They were bystanders in those accidents. And well, that is Spa. Doesn't matter how many cars you have, it can happen. And well, when it can, it will. What I was going to say earlier, a long time earlier, 12 minutes or so ago, was we made the cardinal mistake of these 30-minute sprint races. And anybody who does sprint races can tell you there's usually a calm race and there's a hectic race. One is always calm, one is usually hectic. Today, race 2 was the hectic one. Race 1, very calm, a lot of good racing. And today, race 2 was definitely the culprit. Massive shakeup. And for those of you wondering about points, I have some for you. As it stands, it looks like Honora Rose is going to win the championship to nobody's surprise. Nicole Fox is going to be second in pro, and Dove will be third. In the AM class, it will be Carlsvard, Young, and Rain in that order. Carlsvard will win the championship. Young will be second. Rain will be third. That is unless something massively changes here, like Dove passes Death and then passes Fox. Then we'll talk about that a little bit more for the battle for second place in pro. But right now, that's the way it looks, and that's the most likely finishing scenario here. By the way, Natalie Lee in the 19 stands to gain fourth place in the AM class today if they continue on the way they are doing. And that's the only other major improvement that I've seen on the scoring sheet right now, and that's how it is. We'll recap at the end of the race, and I'll let you know if anything changes.
I can't believe it. Jessie Lee has done the math.
I always do the math.
We need that on a shirt. We got to get that on a shirt, on your favorite cup, on your favorite cereal bowl. It's got to be done.
You know, there is a lot of behind closed doors talks about that sort of thing, and one of my requests is whatever we do, there has to be a I've done the maths or something like that. I've been doing some maths, whatever that may be.
I can't wait. I will be first in line for one of those.
Coffee mug, t-shirt, hat, don't care. I always do the math on this channel. You can guarantee that. It may not always be accurate, but that's not the point. Oh, man. Closing in the final few bits of the season. 6 minutes left to go. Sierra Thomas took a wild ride here. And, yeah, thought about trying to go off the track and would have made a pass or would have potentially been able to make a pass there, the BBR driver, but thought better of it and fell back into line. Lily Rain was a little slower up the hill than Sierra Thomas was expecting. You can get in trouble like that, especially in class racing. If there is a slower class in front of you and you're going up full steam, you can't really stop once you're halfway up Radion, can you, Nate? And if you let off the throttle, you're probably going to go around.
Yeah, it's you're as soon as you come to the bottom of the hill, you're just committed. You have to just whatever happens, you have to just stick with it. And the problem normally occurs when people decide last minute that they no longer wish to ride this roller coaster. They are no longer tall enough for this roller coaster, and they get out of the throttle or they dab the brakes or something happens and they unsettle the car. And that's when the problems really start. It's like we were talking, we had a conversation about it. Oh, hang on, before I rabbit on about that, we see Dove trying to claw back positions here, going side by side with Def into the bus stop. Def just sort of, again, elbows out, says, "You're not coming around the outside of me," and forces Dove off of the position. But now it is back on because Dove will now... Oh! Jessie Lee. Penalties are getting distributed, and I think, I don't want to say it, but that has put the nail in the coffin for Sarah Dove.
Yes, indeed. Well, the stewards described lap 1 as a mess that they had to sort out. Well, they have done just that. Will Stevenson, by the way, handing me the slips of paper today, and they are still coming in. But all the ones I'm about to mention are all for the first couple of turns, Eau Rouge all the way up around the Kimmel Straight. So I will not tell you the corner number because they're all for the same ones on lap 1. No further action between the 888 and the 37. Warning for car 5 for failure to fully utilize brakes, causing avoidable contact with the 5. 15-second penalty, car 888. Severe avoidable contact on the 11. Warning for car 202, not holding brakes, rejoining unsafely. Warning, car 888, failure to hold brakes. Drive through for car 177, taking out car 202. 5-second penalty. Car 247 rejoins unsafely, causing contact with car 69. Racing incident. Oh, actually, we're done with lap 1 now. This is lap 6 and onward. Racing incident between the 11 and the 888, and a warning for car 22 for an excessive dive bomb on car 37. And we saw those earlier in the race. So yeah, a drive-through penalty, some 15-second and a 5-second variety penalty coming out for that accident. And like we theorized earlier, everybody else really a passenger.
Yeah, I'll be honest, I am slightly surprised about the warning for car number 5, which would be Sierra Thomas. So Dove is coming in for their drive-through now. Oh, this is going to be painful. So, keep an eye, everyone. So we saw Dove was battling with Sasha Def. We'll have a look at where Sasha Def is by the time Sarah Dove comes out of the pits, but it's a long way ahead, I'll tell you that much. But back to what I was saying, Jesse. I'm surprised that there's been a warning for car number 5, Sierra Thomas, for the calamity that happened on the hill. I personally, I know the stewards are probably gonna give me heck for this after the race, but I really don't feel like there was much they could have done in that incident. But they have all the angles, they've analyzed it, they've checked it all out, and that's what they believe is correct. But I feel like that's a little bit unfair.
Yeah, of course, there will always be feelings like that, of course, won't there, for situations. And again, it goes, I felt like I explained that in race 1 about stewarding, is you have a book you loosely follow, and you can't have a double standard of giving somebody a penalty for a dive and then not doing it on another occasion where there was contact. If there's not contact, though, I feel at discretion you can let it go. But the second there's contact, I think that completely changes the narrative for the way that stewarding is done. And I think that's what caused that particular penalty to come through like it did. Well, what can you say about Honor Rose? Just absolutely thoroughly dominant, coming to get the 1 to go, not only on the race, but the entire season. And of course, the Speed Juice fastest lap of the race award to Rose as well is 1 lap away from making history in RCI. Not Diamond Drive, not in a GT3, in RCI, period.
Again, that's mind-blowing. You keep saying it, and every time it just doesn't really register. But yeah, it is incredible. It's just something to behold, really. And will it ever be beaten? Time will tell. I've got a feeling it won't be. But I'm sure there's going to be a handful of people that get close, Jesse.
I'll tell you something else, too. If we go back to Season 3, there was a change for podium positions in both categories at the final round as well. And we're in that same situation today, as we will see both second place in Pro and the championship change in the final race for the AM category. It's incredible. You race all season long, you get absolutely no separation, and it just comes down to this one final race. And if there was a round 7, which there's not, but if there was, it wouldn't surprise me if it all flipped back the other way next week, because that's just how this championship has gone every single round.
Yeah, honestly, I thought we were all sort of said and done after race 1. I was like, oh yeah, Rose has won. I mean, Rose could just park the car, get out and walk now, and she'd still win. But I thought, oh yeah, podium places in each championship are relatively secure. I mean, I expected a battle between Fox and Dove, but it seemed that Fox had the pace here, so I was sort of like, oh yeah, this one's this is wrapped up. Group B is sort of there as well, but I don't think anybody you couldn't have written the start of this race, Jesse.
Well, you couldn't have, and you couldn't have written Honora Rose's season a perfect 6 for 6, 7 races in the season. Queen's Design and Honora Rose wins an unprecedented race and has become RCI's all-time winningest driver and most dominant driver we've ever seen. 2 complete perfect seasons, pole position, fastest lap, and the win for Honora Rose. And Fox comes across the line. Nicole Fox came in third into the championship today, will leave second, converting to excellent races into a second place finish as they collide into turn 1 with each other. April Carlsvard does the same in the AM class, goes from second to first in the standings in the final week. April Carlsvard is your AM class winner for Diamond Drive Season 4.
That was just, honestly, I can't believe this has just happened. It's all just gone completely topsy-turvy, Jesse. But, you know, congratulations to our winners. I mean, you had to be in it to win it. These drivers turned up sort of every event, put in the work, the practice, got the results, and, well, this is their reward.
Just to confirm, and by confirm, I mean this is based on my math and not official, but we suspect Honora Rose is your pro champion, Nicole Fox second place in that championship, and Sarah Dove third place in pro. Those are your podiums in the pro class and in the AM class. April Carlsvard wins the championship over M. Young, and Rain finishes third in the AM class. The overall is going to be Honora Rose, Nicole Fox, and Sarah Dove. Those are, again, your top 3 in pro were this season, for the very first time, mind you, that we've had a top 3 pro in the overall. Every other season we've done the overall, there's been at least one silver or AM car inside the overall top 3. This season, not the case, all pro. But congratulations to everybody, our podium finishers, and of course, Honora Rose converts, becomes the greatest of all time.
That's a big legacy to live up to, isn't it?
Well, we're going to go ahead and jump into driver interviews. Why not start with the championship winner in pro, Honora Rose? Amazing season that you had. Congratulations on becoming the GOAT.
Thank you. That's nice. I like that feeling. It's good.
Rose, nobody in the history of RCI has ever dominated anything. I don't care, GT3, GT4, Trofeo. Nobody has been more dominant than you. 2 complete seasons. Every week you come in here, set the quickest lap in qualifying, the quickest lap in the race, and win the race in pro. Nobody's ever done it. You're the only one. What do you have to say for yourself? You're just undefeatable.
We'll have to see about that in Friday GT Sprint, won't we? I'm certainly gonna try to live up to that reputation anyway.
I might have also been talking crap about you earlier, where you finished second a few weeks ago and you were disappointed. I might have told that story as well. But do you know, I think this is going to go past Diamond Drive Cup. I think you're going to end up in winning more than just Diamond Drive Cup races. You're more than most of the way there already. But speaking about just today, was there any pressure coming into today? Because we had talked previously about everything leading up to this moment. You had the chance to make history. Were you nervous at all about that?
For the race, no, just into turn 1 from where we're starting, Lecombe, you know? Because the M4 has no top speed whatsoever. It tops out in normal times at like 260, 261. So like, I knew the McLarens behind me would be braving down my neck. No two ways about it. And that's exactly what they did. I had to defend at both starts.
Well, it was just absolutely brilliant. Season 3 and Season 4, just absolute domination, and just couldn't have done it any better. Nobody has ever done it. You're the only person that can say that you have done anything remotely like this. And
Yes.
today, you just another dominant day. I mean, it's hard as a broadcaster to say that, oh, well, somebody can challenge Rose, because realistically, you're down and gone down the road. But I know as a driver, it's not that simple. There's a 500,000 things that could go wrong.
Yeah.
And there's only one scenario where it could go right.
Yeah, I think that was pretty obvious at the start of race 2. Like, I could have easily been caught up in that at the comp. But I wasn't, so.
Rose, my partner, wants to talk to you. Nate, go ahead.
I have a question. Pick me. Just quickly, Rose, I just want to jump back to race 1, where obviously you mentioned that the M4 has no top speed, and we did see Nicole Fox, well, alongside you coming into Les Combes. I commentated on at the time. Did you just delay your turn in ever so slightly just to force Fox sort of out wide, just to make sure that she couldn't then take the inside for the left-hander following?
I mean, when you take that line, the defensive line, coming in from the inside, you kind of do that naturally because you know that's what's going to happen. So, not consciously, but yeah, I guess I did.
Well, Rose, congratulations on another season, a dominant season, and a history-making season. Ladies and gentlemen, your Diamond Drive Season 4 Pro Champion, Honor Rose.
Thank you.
Well, from one champion to another, April Carlsvard fought hard late in the season, had to overcome some issues, and on the final race of the season, converts it into a championship. April, welcome and congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm really thrilled with that. Thank you so much, Em, for taking the chase right down to the end. Really unfortunate how it came to a close. Really unlucky there, but it was really fun having that chase. Really enjoyed that, and congrats to Aenor as well on the pro win.
So, April, I gotta ask you, it was tight all season long. It went back and forth between you and Young. Young held the lead some weeks it came back to you.
Yeah.
Was there ever a sense of, I've got this, or was it just a fight every single race where it could have been a coin toss between the two of you?
I think it was just suspenseful the whole way, really. There's definitely been points where I took it off my radar and slightly regretted that. I had a lot of fun battles with Paula during the season as well. As much as I really enjoyed that, definitely probably held me back in. But oh well, lessons learned. I'm just happy that it got to be an exciting chase right down to the wire.
I've maintained all season that there are a lot of drivers in the AM class, or not AM, and I've referred to it as a second class. Nate's referred to it as Group B or whatever, Class B or whatever we were calling it, simply because we felt that it was a disservice to call drivers like yourself actual AM drivers. But obviously splitting the field into two was the goal, and it provided some excellent racing. I certainly feel like another season it comes down to the wire in the lower classes. This was absolutely no different. But like, how stressful is it to be in a championship battle, especially one where you're in it for 6 consecutive weeks?
It's tough, I'm not gonna lie, particularly with the races coming so quick. Like, you're never really prepared properly for each one. By the time you're relaxing and decompressing to the last one, the next one's already rolled around. You've kind of got to always be on it. And I think that's probably been the biggest challenge this season, is just staying on it week after week after week with no downtime, no time to really prepare in between.
Where does April Carlsvard go from here?
Don't know. We've got World Tour coming up. That's
what I wanted to hear.
Gonna take a lot more effort than this for sure, but that's all right. I'll put in the hours, and we'll do something we can be proud of.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Am champion for Diamond Drive Season 4, April Carlsvard.
Thank you so much.
We're just going to go down the list in no particular order. Charlotte Robertson, Lottie, what are a couple of races you had?
Yeah, unfortunate collisions near the start of both races. So race 1 got hit going into the last corner, or is it the first corner? Whichever one it is. And then race 2 got caught up, just tapped going through Eau Rouge. I've looked back at it now and only just got caught the very end of the crash. But yeah, that rendered the car drivable, but still not great. And then both races I made a further mistake that made the car pretty much undrivable. And because the races are so short, the pit lane's so long, I just wanted to get it to the finish both times.
Well, you said in our chat jokingly that you were going to be the highest finishing non-European manufacturer today. How'd you pull that off?
Oh, it was a very tough fight, that one. Yeah, it was everyone breathing down my neck, but somehow I managed to pull off that win. I'll be proud of that one. That's going on the CV.
Always in good spirits, Lottie. It's excellent to have you in the season, and thanks for being with us the entire way.
Thank you. Congratulations to Honor and April as well.
Thank you, Charlotte.
Well, we're going to continue down the list. Natalie Lee, well, also pretty much the same question. Natalie, you're in the fight all day long. It seemed to be happening all around you. What was your experience from the cockpit?
For this race?
Well, these two, yeah.
Well, the first one, let's just say I ticked up the rear wing by a click between in the intermission.
Ah.
Yeah, with damage, the rear of the car just didn't stick through a rouge at all.
And Natalie, I do this thing. I don't know if you watch the streams back, but anybody that has the same last name as me, I always introduce them as the best name in sim racing.
Yeah, don't worry, I watch.
There's quite a few Lees in sim racing. What makes us better sim racers? What do you think that is?
Clearly, the pace we have.
Very clearly indeed. Natalie, serious question. What your thoughts, your summary of your season?
Somewhat frustrated for some of the races, but at the same time, it's always fun to come back to this car. The 650S is a gorgeous car to drive, just even if I'm not as on the pace as I want to be.
What's next for Natalie Lee, the best name in sim racing?
Probably a different car. As much as I love driving this car, I want to be on pace a bit next time.
I will tell you, as a fan favorite, people love seeing the 650 out there. People are cheering you on simply because you don't see people drive the 650 anymore, and you were doing really well at different points in the season in that car, and people love to see that. We love to see that. We pointed that out immediately. Good luck in the future.
Thank you.
Well, we talked to the winner in the pro class. That was no surprise, but let's talk to second place in the pro class. That was a little bit of a surprise. Fought all season long. Nicole Fox, second place in the championship. But if anybody who knows what happened this season, they'll know that was a hard-fought second place.
Yeah, I would say that, and I'm not pretty sure if I'm actually second place, or I think Sarah and I are equal in points because of the drop round, and I'm not pretty sure if we have any rules regarding to this. Well, but I'm very happy for those two sprint races. Just turned out to be amazing. I love Spa. It's my favorite track, and yeah, my pace was definitely there. Kind of sad for the second race turn 2 incident, but I recovered very good, and the car felt still pretty same as before. So yeah, very happy.
You only finished off the podium one time all season, Nicole. That is incredible finishing ability from you. And again, if you look at the results, it looks easy, but we all know that you fought tooth and nail all season long to get those quality results.
Yeah, Sarah is a very very big challenge because she's so fast and so consistent. Most of the time I was better in qualifying, but I'm not very good at keeping the perfect pace in the race. So, well, yeah, I don't know.
What Nicole? What's next for Nicole Fox?
Good question. Probably a long break because I don't
Well,
have time to do another championship probably.
well, Nicole, it's an absolute pleasure, and enjoy your rest in the upcoming little bit. I feel like you've definitely earned it. Congrats.
Thank you, and also congratulations to Ainer and April.
Sarah Johnson, who was well, Sarah, you tell us how your race went today.
Okay, hi. First of all, let me get this out of the way. Aenori and April, great season. You both drove out of your skins. Well, you saw what happened.
Yeah, I saw it. I want you to tell me what you saw, though.
Yeah, so race 1, I lost it all by myself. Another classic, eager on the throttle and hello barrier, my old friend. And then race 2, I thought we did really well. Race 1, I was asking the girls, I was saying, you know, did we do it? Did we make the first lap clean? Because it looked really clean from where I was, you know, that race. And then there I was in a Rouge, facing the wrong way. Yeah, I believe I probably turned across somebody. You know, it's my fault. Didn't see them coming. Was just trying to make the corner without dying and caused a big pileup, I believe.
Let's talk about your season, Sarah. What do you feel was your strength this season? What do you think your weakness was?
My weakness is silly mistakes. My reaction times are obviously not what they need to be. Yeah, I've had issues with my health, which has meant that I've not been able to practice as much. Get the setup sorted like I usually would do, you know. Usually I'd be preparing for a week before the race, and that's not been happening. It's been sort of the day of the race, which is it's a big change for me to do that. But you know, for health reasons, I've had to do it, and you know, I don't think it's really affected it most of the time. Like I've said, silly mistakes. Overall, not last. You know, and that's been my mantra since I started sim racing was not last. So yeah, it's been really good actually. I've really enjoyed it. Obviously, I really enjoy competing with the other drivers. They're challenging to you know, to be in the same races as Aenore and Sarah and April. You know, they're fast drivers. You know, it's good to be amongst them.
What's next for Sarah Johnson?
You know, it's the World Tour. Come on, bring it.
I gotta ask. Hey, listen, I gotta ask. I gotta know where the loyalty is. You know what I'm saying?
24 hours. I'm stoked. I'm really stoked. As long as I get my sleep at some point.
Well, the very best of health to you, Sarah, as well, and congratulations on another very interesting campaign, fighting for a top 5 all season.
Thank you very much for setting all this up as well. You know, big props to you guys for putting up with us. Thank you.
An absolute honor and a privilege to do so. You know what? You know why I ask them what they're doing is because I know a bunch of them are in the Diamond Drive, or that are in the Diamond Drive Cup, or also in the World Tour. Does my heart good to see the representation. Sarah, Dove is next on the list, and Dove, my goodness, it must be a little bit heartbreaking, but still, it was a podium effort out there all season long.
Yeah, just not the best final race for GDC. Yes, I just kind of you know, I had Sasha behind. I was like, okay, I need to end behind and get ahead of Cole, and I was like, I need to try and uh, try and do something at Lacombe, but then I just braked too late and got a little on the curb, I think, and just bonked side, and then that was it. Even if I had caught up, I had the drive through. So
Well,
yeah.
let's focus on the positives this season. 1, 2, 3, I count. Second place finishes, and second place might as well be the win when you're competing against people like Rose. So, realistically speaking,
Yeah.
you and Nicole went back and forth all season long, and it was some excellently brilliant racing. I asked Nicole how they felt about being in that pressure cooker environment. Was it a lot of stress on you this season going back and forth like a tennis match?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's some of the races were a bit more stressful, especially these two, because I kind of knew from I maybe could have gotten second in qualifying, but in the race I just didn't have the pace, and then that was in my mind, so I was stressing like, you know, like I need to go faster, need to go faster. Uh, some of the other races I was a bit more comfortable. But yeah, it was a great season, back and forth, and a lot of good battles and everything.
Nicole brought up a good point. There is a drop round in this championship, and I'm not sure how it's going to go. And that will determine whether you finish second or third. I have it the other way around now, where Nicole finished second, you finished third. But Nicole's right. I could be wrong, and it could be the reverse of that. It could be a dead tie, and in which case, I don't know how I do know how the count back works, but I'm not sure who would win the count back. It was that close all season. So, regardless on second or third, it was some very brilliant battling all season long. You should be very proud of yourself, Sarah. And you know what I'm going to ask? What's next for Sarah Dove?
Go to sleep.
I didn't mean tonight. I meant in the weeks to come.
Sandbagging in
I'll-
split 3.
No.
Wow. Nate comes in with a dagger.
Look,
No,
I
that's
race
not
against
right.
her in split 3 in World Tour, and I can never catch her.
Oh my goodness. So you're saying she's faster than you?
100%.
Well, Dove, congratulations on another fantastic campaign, more trophies to add to the cabinet, and good luck in the World Tour in the future.
Thank you.
Well, moving on to Sasha. Sasha, who I don't know if we've talked to Sasha in an interview before. Sasha, have we talked to you before in an interview?
No, you haven't.
Well, welcome on, and what a campaign that was. You were in the mix all season long and made some very strong finishes. What is your summary of your campaign?
Yeah, it was really good. Great racing. Dove and Fox are a pain in the ass to keep up with, so it was really nice to finally podium in the last race.
Exactly. Of course, been hanging around fourth all season long, and nobody knows the Dove Fox battle like you do, Sasha. You were really right there with them, and to finally get a podium this season, it was very well done. I gotta say, for you, I'm quite curious. What is your favorite moment from the campaign?
I don't know. Maybe the podium at the end? Probably.
I'll absolutely take that. I've also got an off-script question. What time is it where you are?
Currently it's 9 in the morning.
So you get up. See, I thought that. So you get up really early in the morning, and this is the way you start your Thursday morning.
Yeah.
So all of this, us talking about all Diamond Drive Wednesdays, doesn't make any sense to you.
No, it doesn't.
Well, when we started RCI, one of the things we wanted to do was make sure it was international and make sure that everybody had a fair shake. And to have Australian, New Zealand, you get the point. Representation and everything, including Diamond Drive's absolutely brilliant, and had brilliant moments this season. I don't suppose you're in the World Tour as well, though.
No, I had teammate bail on me.
So you were, and then here's your teammates' fault.
Yes.
All right, Sasha throwing teammates under the bus. I absolutely love it. No, that's I gotta say, one of the more interesting. We had fun with your last name in Sim. All right, Death.
Yeah.
We had fun with that. There was a lot of doves trying to outrun Death kind of comments, which we would normally make, but was made more interesting by your creative name. And I will say, probably the most intimidating name outside of Lee, of course, the most intimidating name on the grid.
Thank you.
Oh my goodness. I feel this has gone off. I'm trying to make Sasha laugh. It hasn't worked, so I'm going to move on.
No.
Sasha, thank you for being a part of the Diamond Drive Season 4 and definitely making it interesting, and congrats on finally getting that well-deserved podium.
Thank you for hosting.
And finally, we've made it to the end. It is Sierra. Sierra is with us, and, well, Sierra, go ahead and tell us about your season. I think Sierra's having mic issues at the moment. We're going to give them a moment, see if they can't rectify that. And in the meantime, I'm just going to go ahead and do my end of stream preamble, of course. A big thank you to our partners that make this race and every race possible: racedepartment.com, AK Informatica, Driver61 Fanatec, and simracing.gp. You can get 25% off your driver coaching by going to driver61.com and using our discount code in the description. And also, when making purchases of quality sim racing hardware at fanatec.com, feel free to use our affiliate link. It doesn't cost you anything, and it could help us with things like server costs when you use our link to make purchases. Simracing.gp, if you're interested in racing with communities and can't get enough racing and are tired of the pub racing scene, join simracing.gp, join a community. Joining is completely free. Sierra, have we fixed it?
Yes, I have fixed everything. I am so sorry.
No, absolutely fine. Sierra Thomas, tell us about your season, your summary.
Well, like you said earlier in the stream, I had started with Zolder, the last one, to help get a little bit of numbers in and get a little bit of experience after taking a big hiatus from the sim. And boy, people have gotten faster.
I think there's a few that would echo that as well. Just the progression of the series, but you finished 5th in your debut at Zolder, and you were in the mix here today. Do you have any upcoming projects?
I'm definitely going to keep my ear to the ground. I've been, dipping my toes in a lot back into sim racing since the beginning of this year. I'm definitely trying to look forward to whatever I can get my hands on to continue improving and to continue just advancing. I definitely think that doing this and setting myself on a goal and having something to strive towards and people who are very friendly to race with has helped me a ton. And I'm just really excited to see what else I can come in and join and have fun with.
And Sierra, your race 2 today, your position behind the wheel for Eau Rouge and Radillon, what was that like?
Oh man, it's one of those things where you have that premonition of like, oh no, I think we're about to have something, because everybody, in the first race, I think everybody had backed off and we had given each other space, but in the second race, it's going for gold. Everybody's struggling for positions and trying to make the most of that second race, and racing happens. They just got a little bit close, and I got caught behind and had a little bit of front end damage, but nothing to complain about really.
Well, Sarah, thank you for joining late. Like you said, helping with getting the numbers up also provided a real treat at the end of the season, when also got some top 5s as well. Congrats on that, and thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much.
And, finally, as we've run out of interviews for the drivers for the series, on behalf of everyone here at RCI, we just want to thank all of our drivers in the Diamond Drive Cup who made this season and every season special thus far. We've had 4 of them. We did 2, took a break, and we've done 2 again. There is no currently scheduled Diamond Drive on the immediate horizon. But season 5, you never know when it might come. Of course, it's all down to driver participation. But I just want to say, on behalf of all of us here in the broadcast team, it was a fantastic season 4. And realistically, it left us with something to talk about every single week. Nate, your final thoughts on the Diamond Drive season 4?
Well, overall, I'd have to say that the final sprint race was the most exciting one we'd seen. And I don't quite think it would beat watching Sophie on the Edge at Imola, but Jesse, what do you think, just before I quickly close out my final thoughts?
No, I think watching Erwin nearly be arrow loose the entire time, I think that was just insane. The fact that that car was never crashed today was very close second in my mind. Watching some of the cars duck and dive through there, and watching Dove come back through the field after the accident, those sort of things, those are all very nice memories. And of course, just the big one, Rose, just dominating like you would expect them to, but just to do it on such a grand scale. And the big takeaway, though, for me this entire season was the Dove Fox fight and the Young Carlsvard fight. The entire season going nose to nose. 1 week one would be leading, 1 week the other would be leading, and to come down to what could technically be a tie is insane. And I think it speaks volumes to the drivers and the quality of racing. It's quality, not quantity, after all. Those are my takeaways.
Honestly, Jesse, I don't think I could have said it any better myself. Yeah, it's been absolutely fantastic to watch. Yeah, this race, I'm still processing it. It was just so intense. The first lap really set the tone for race 2. Obviously, seeing the just sheer dominance of Rose as we see her across the finish line here in the highlights here, it's just unstoppable, untouchable, and it was thoroughly deserved all around. And a big thanks to all of the drivers that have participated and really made the season what it's been.
Yeah, it's absolutely epic to have driver participation and to want to race like they have done all season long. And for those that, like Sierra, for instance, that joined halfway or past that point, just to get some experience and also take part, it means a lot to us to have that. And wow, it's one of those experiences. It's unlike any other in sim racing. We heard a lot of the drivers here were going to participate in the world and have been participating in the world tour. And that's where we'll see a lot of them next. Of course, that is in a couple of weeks. Qualifying Super Pole on the 7th of May. And then the weekend following that, the next Saturday, I believe that's the 14th. That is the big 24-hour race. You're not going to want to miss that. You'll see a lot of the drivers that we just heard from in the mix for that as well. And of course, coming up immediately, if you want more GT racing, well, we've got the M2 Touring Car Championship continuing tomorrow here on RCI, and Saturday, the continuation of Night Owl. Night Owl got away from Ted and me last week. No need to go back and watch the VOD. Nothing strange happened on that broadcast, and it got away from us a little bit. It was a lot of fun. And of course, on Monday, the Challenge Cup continues next Monday. And this is the part of the show that I hate the most. This is not only the end of the show, but the season. Once more, a big thank you to all of our participants, drivers, and teams that participated in Diamond Drive Season 4. It wouldn't have even happened had it not been for the great participants. And what great racing on top of that we had. On behalf of everyone here at RCI, the admins, the broadcast team, the stewards, and all of us, we thank them for their participation, and we thank you for a fantastic season. And, well, nothing else left for it. Until next time, have a good night.